was on his plane and went to the island supposedly 28 times. I don't want to bring that up, frankly. You have Larry, whatever his name is, Summers, the head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. I mean, but I don't want to hurt Larry Summers, but he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's #1 in history. What we've done.
What's going on, everybody? Appreciate you for being here. Today, we have a few stories to talk about. We have Ghislaine Maxwell's transcripts came out with the DOJ, and the government has released some stuff. We'll look a little bit into that. John Bolton was raided by the FBI, apparently because he might have had some classified documents. People are speculating that it might have been released through his book. I can't say that for sure, but clearly they knew he had some sort of classified documents or suspected him of that. So they raided John Bolton, which is pretty crazy. And then also Donald Trump, I wanted to play this clip because he keeps saying the Epstein stuff is a hoax, a Democrat hoax. And he actually, in this clip, which I find fascinating, other people, they get mad that I even bring it up, but that's why I'm live to bring it up, because I love when, people don't want me to do stuff. But anyway, Trump basically said the first 6 months of his presidency was better than any 6 months in any presidential history. Some say the best of all time, even speculating, or I guess I would say, suggesting that he's doing a better job than George Washington's first 6 months or any president in history. I think it's pretty insane, but others, they actually agree with him and they think that this is better than George Washington's first 6 months. With that being said, I want to play a clip of Orrin McIntyre on Tucker Carlson's podcast where he actually explains what George Washington thought. And George Washington thought that favoring other foreign nations was going to be the death of the United States of America, which is what's happening now. Our country favors a few foreign nations, and it has been the destruction of our country. So should be a great show. A lot of clips maybe you have or haven't seen, but we're going to have a good time with it. Dream Rare Podcast starts now. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if everything sounds good. Give me a thumbs up on the video for the algorithm, just to make the algorithm feel good. So maybe other people will see the video that have never seen me. I don't know. Dream Rare Podcast starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's up, Facebook, YouTube, and all the other peeps out there? I appreciate y'all for being here. And before I start, I just want to let y'all know that I do have a new song out. It's called The Luck of the Irish. And before I get into my show, I just want to explain how it happened. A friend played the beat for me. It's a rap beat, but it sounds extremely Irish. So the only way I was going to rap on it is if I made an Irish banger. So that's what I did. I made a song for not just the Irish people, telling them to respect their heritage, not to hate themselves, because the media is trying to tell them, especially if you're white, like hate yourself, replace yourself, it doesn't matter. Irish isn't Irish. So made a song with a little, tones of that, but really just a St. Paddy's Day type banger where everybody in the world can enjoy and celebrate their culture respectfully and just, rally around the Irish people. So check it out. It's called Luck of the Irish by Anomaly. Spotify and Apple helps me a lot if you guys add it to a playlist if you like it, and a lot more where that's coming from. So appreciate y'all. And let's get into the first one. I'm probably going to go reverse. I apologize. I'm not trying to be misleading with my title, but I do want to start with the Trump thing because I have a lot of clips loaded up. So here's him talking about the Epstein stuff, and we're going to get into the Ghislaine Maxwell. We're going to get into the John Bolton, but this is a recent clip that just came out, and Trump is wearing a hat that says Trump was right about everything, and he continues to say that the Epstein situation is essentially just a Democrat hoax. But to be fair, journalistically intact, he's explaining why. He's not just saying, oh, it's not real. He's just like, yeah, Epstein was a guy, but everybody knew him. But also a lot of Democrats knew him. So this is Trump's angle on the Epstein thing.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
Keeping it open.
If they wanted to release,
people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff.
I want to quote him there. He said, we had the greatest 6 to 7 months in the history of the presidency. He's talking about the history of every president of the United States, Donald J. Trump has had the best 6 months ever. Better than George Washington, better than any president of all time. I post stuff like this on social media, and I just, I'm trying to break the echo chamber, because of course you have the left who just hates Donald Trump, and they're like, that's what the left sounds like to me. I'm Stephen King. I write weird books and I hate Donald Trump. Cool, bro. And then you have your Trump supporters, and they're like, yes, like literally a bunch of people on my Facebook page, they literally think Donald Trump has done a better job than George Washington. To me, that's insane. But to them, that's just, it's just Friday. They just think Donald Trump's better than George Washington. And even on X, people are like, shut up, Anomaly. You've become insane. You're ridiculous. Everything's clickbait to you now. And I'm thinking to myself, am I the crazy? Let me know in the comment section. Is Anomaly crazy? Have I gone somewhere that you haven't ever seen me before or something? Because I voted for Donald Trump and I've gotten a lot of flack for it, but I don't think this is the greatest 6 months in presidency history. I don't even think it's close. I wouldn't even say it's top 20. Especially like we don't really have the information on the first 30, 40 presidents. Like nobody was paying attention then because most people weren't alive. But I like the lack of, I guess, grace here to be like, there were some legends before me. I couldn't have done it without the founding fathers, but I'm doing my best. I'm the best, even like I'm the best president in modern history. But he's just like, this is the greatest 6 months. And then he's wearing a hat that says Trump was right about everything, including Operation Warp Speed and the fact that he said his vaccine saved 100 million lives. Was he like there? I could go down the list, but anyway, it's just like, are people so brainwashed into like the Trump fandom that him saying he's better than George Washington is just normal now? And he's wearing a hat that says he's right about everything. And I'm the nuts one for being like, this is a little bit weird to me. I'm going to play the second clip, and then I want to play a clip from what George Washington actually said and explain to people, not that I should have to do this, but explain to people why George Washington was a better president than Donald Trump, and why George Washington warned us about presidents like Donald Trump, not just him, every president we've had in our lifetime, essentially. Not only was George Washington leagues above them, the founding fathers were way ahead of any politician. Like, go read some of the classic documents of the founding fathers, and you'll be like, we live in idiocracy. Like, these guys knew that these politicians were coming, the Ted Cruzes, the Donald Trumps, the Nancy Pelosi's. The founding fathers knew that was going to happen. They wrote about it. They were 1,000 times wiser than any politician in modern history. Yet the modern politicians in history are going to try to tell you that, no, the founding fathers were racist, they were sexist, they're horrible, and I'm doing a better job than them. Something's a little up, but I'm going to prove that. Let's play the second clip real quick.
But it affected them. Bill Clinton was on his plane and went to the island supposedly 28 times. I don't want to bring that up, frankly. You have Larry, whatever his name is, Summers, the head of Harvard, who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend. Nobody ever talks about that. But I don't want to hurt Larry Summers, but he was best friends with Jeffrey Epstein. No, this is a Democratic hoax to try and get the significance of what we've done over the past 7 months. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They say it's number one in history. What we've done.
Number one in history. He's the greatest president of all time, better than the founding fathers, and his 6 months are better than their 6 months, because that's what people are telling him. Super chat real quick. Fight Sports Talk said, if you want to get someone on your show who knows the truth about Putin's invasion, Brandon Martinez, Jeff Nyquist, Trevor Loudon, or Drew Pavo would be great. Ukraine has to win the war. Well, thank you for the super chat. Possibly. I'll look into it. And Clinton on Facebook said Trump is right. So Clinton thinks that that Trump is better than George Washington. Dude, if only Trump, it sucks that George Washington didn't have access to a time machine, or Donald Trump didn't have access to a time machine. Because if they did, Donald Trump could have went back in history and really wore his Trump was right about everything hat and really shown George Washington. Because let's be honest. I mean, George Washington has a thing or two to learn from the art of the deal, Donald Trump. I'm being sarcastic, obviously, but here's a clip that explains why. Thank you, Orrin McIntyre on Tucker Carlson's podcast. Here's why George Washington was better than any modern politician, because he understood America first means not prioritizing a foreign nation, or else your country will crumble, which is what's happened to America over the last 50, 60 years, I believe, because of our foreign policy, and we've basically been infiltrated and invaded. But anyway, here's that clip.
Actually, if we look at what the founders said about foreign policy, it's radically different. George Washington, in his farewell address, was very clear about the way we should approach foreign alliances. He said, basically, you shouldn't have them. You can have commercial relationships. You should trade with other nations.
So George Washington said you can't favor a single foreign nation over another one, and you can't hate a foreign nation over another one, because then you become a slave to that nation. Let's listen again.
Be friendly as possible. But he says very explicitly, never, ever have a favored nation or a nation that you hate, because either way, it makes you a slave to that nation. And a free nation should be free of foreign influence. He very clearly says that foreign influence is the death of any given republic.
So that's what George Washington says, right? If you agree with George Washington now, which instinctually, I didn't even know George Washington said that until a week ago. But instinctually, that's what I've always thought. I don't hate another nation. Like, people always ask me, like, oh, you know, I like this nation, or I hate this nation, or do you hate Iran, or do you hate Russia, or do you hate Ukraine? I don't hate Ukraine, or I don't hate Russia. Why would I hate a group of foreign people? I don't have hate in my heart. At the same time, I don't think we should be giving foreign aid and getting involved in all these wars, especially when it's at the detriment of our people. And foreign aid doesn't even make sense to me. It's like robbery. It's like, we'll give you $200 billion over time, and in return, now we are basically attached at the hip, and now we have to fight your wars. So it's not even like, why don't you give us money? You want our weapons, you want our support. Why aren't countries paying us? Why are we paying everybody else? But anyway, that's what George Washington said, right? He said, you can't favor any foreign nation over another one, and you can't hate another foreign nation over another one, because then you become a slave to them. And, you know, there's the old saying, you can't serve two masters. When it comes to United States politicians, of course, Ukraine is an easy one for a lot of people to understand. You see them favor Ukraine hysterically over the last couple of years. But the number one that we always come back to is Israel. Obviously, if you're not completely delusional or brainwashed, and you look at the Twitter accounts of any of the AIPAC recipients, which is the, you know, Israel lobby essentially, but you can't talk about the Israel lobby, or else Mark Levin gets really upset. He doesn't even like Megyn Kelly doing an interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene. How dare you talk about the Israel lobby? Because it's real, and because everybody's finding out that it's real, and now you're getting pissed off because you favor that country over. Anyway, let's listen to what Donald Trump thinks about Israel. This is one of my favorite radio clips, because once again, George Washington said, don't favor another foreign nation over your nation, or any nation, because that's the death of your nation. Here's Donald Trump saying that a foreign nation, Israel, should literally own our United States Congress. He's upset that they used to completely control our Congress, and now he says that they don't, because there's only a few Congress people that, I have to say Congress people, because men and women now are in Congress. It's not congressmen. Congress humans, Congress transgenders are, there's like 5 of them that don't support Israel. And Trump's like, wow, why doesn't Israel control our Congress anymore? Does this sound like he's better than George Washington to you? Or does this sound like a politician George Washington warned you about?
Well, you know, the biggest change I've seen in Congress is Israel literally owned Congress. You understand that 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And it was so powerful. It was so powerful. And today it's almost the opposite. You have between AOC and Omar and these people that hate Israel. They hate it with a passion. They're controlling Congress, and Israel is not a force in Congress anymore. It's just amazing. I've never seen such a change. And we're not talking about over a very long period of time, but I think you know exactly what I'm saying. They had such power. Israel had such power, and rightfully, over Congress, and now it doesn't. It's incredible, actually.
So that's our sitting United States president, Donald J. Trump, saying that he thinks that Israel used to rightfully have power over our Congress and wants them to again. Let's compare that real quick, just to have the side-by-side, to what George Washington, the president, who millions of Trump supporters actually think that Trump is superseding George Washington right now, even though Trump and all of Congress is exactly what George Washington warned about.
Actually, if we look at what the founders said about foreign policy, it's radically different. George Washington, in his farewell address, was very clear about the way we should approach foreign alliances. He said, basically, you shouldn't have them. You can have commercial relationships. You should trade with other nations.
Makes total sense to me. I've always instinctually thought this, and not to blame anyone else, because it's our politicians' fault, but, the more I learn and the older I get and the wiser I get and the more research I get, I pretty much can trace America's collapse and falling to when America basically gave up sovereignty and stopped being a sovereign nation that cared about its own people. And there's a lot of ways that that happened through liberalism, through foreign policy, neoliberals, neocons. It came domestically, it came through the school system, it came through Bolshevikism. I'm not saying it just came from one side, but in general, it's like, I can tell. I'm like, okay, so this is how you let them infiltrate the schools. You let this infiltrate the music. You completely ignored the entire history of the United States of America, which wasn't just like sporadic immigration from everywhere until the Hart-Celler Act. It was very dialed in. That's just the truth. And then after that, it's just like anything matters. We just landed on the moon. Now we got to go fight World War II on the side of Stalin. And now after World War II and the establishment of this new country, now we have to bend over backwards for this group of people and pass speech laws for them and give them foreign aid forever and let their lobby not register under FARA. And anybody who disagrees is an anti-Semite. It's like, yeah, I'm not surprised America fell apart, because it's the exact everything that everyone's doing now is exactly what George Washington warned about.
Be friendly as possible. But he says very explicitly, never, ever have a favored nation or a nation that you hate, because either way, it makes you a slave to that nation. And a free nation should be free of foreign influence. He very clearly says that foreign influence is the death of any given republic.
So before we move on, we went from the founding father, who literally created the United States of America, is a worldwide hero, probably, I don't know, the best president we've ever had, with all of the founding fathers who came together and wrote this beautiful piece of government legislation to some extent, and also a lot of addresses and quotes that really predicted the next 300 years of tyranny and corruption. And now you have a president who wears a hat that says, I'm right about everything, while he says he's doing a better job than George Washington, while he says a foreign country should literally own our Congress, while he's taking hundreds of millions of dollars from essentially a foreign lobby and people that have dual loyalty, while they convince Donald Trump to pass speech laws to say that it's anti-Semitic to say that they have dual loyalty. And he's sitting there with that Orwellian hat that says he's right about everything, when he just did a socialist campaign to sell a bunch of vaccines and say that they saved the world. And it's one of the greatest human achievements. They're not. He's lying. Now Intel, 10% of them is owned by the government, which is basically like communism or fascism. I'm not going to cry fascism, but it's like this is like communist China level stuff. The government's taking a part of a company. But anyway, it's like this guy has a hat on saying he's right about everything while he's covering up the Jeffrey Epstein situation, because obviously he knows Jeffrey Epstein very well. Yet he says he's better than George Washington, while millions of his supporters actually believe him. There's people in the comments right now, if you go to my Facebook feed, this is on Facebook, they're saying, anomaly, he is better than George Washington. What do you say? It's like, no wonder the country's falling. We live in idiocracy.
Your Justice Department is also sending some of the Epstein files over to the House Oversight Committee today. Are you in support of them releasing all of them?
Keeping it open.
If they wanted to release,
people shouldn't be hurt, but I'm in support of keeping it totally open. I couldn't care less. You got a lot of people that it could be mentioned in those files that don't deserve to be. People, because he knew everybody in Palm Beach. I don't know anything about that, but I have said to Pam and everybody else, give them everything you can give them, because it's a Democrat hoax. It's just a hoax. The whole Epstein thing is a Democrat hoax. So we had the greatest 6 months, 7 months in the history of the presidency, and the Democrats don't know what to do, so they keep bringing up that stuff.
Greatest 6 months of all time. Clinton on Facebook, who literally thinks that George Washington was worse of a president than Donald Trump, he says, I have Trump derangement syndrome. So I have Trump derangement syndrome for thinking the founding fathers were smarter and better than Donald Trump, but you don't have Trump derangement syndrome when Trump wears a hat that says he's right about everything, which is obviously a lie. And he wants to give our Congress to a foreign nation that he literally works for. That's totally normal to you? Just handing our Congress over to Israel? Fascinating. I can't explain what's going on in this country, but there's a lot of weird mental games being played. Let's move on to, we'll get to the John Bolton thing, because I don't really have that much to say about that. You know, John Bolton's been famous for not just his mustache, but he's been one of the most iconic, I guess, like neocon, neoliberal, Zionist, deep state, foreign policy shills in recent history. I don't know what you'd call him. Some call him a neocon. Some call him a Zionist. He's both of those things, I believe, proudly. So you call him what you want. He's got a mustache that looks like it could just crawl away like a caterpillar. But anyway, John Bolton worked in the first Trump administration. There was always this cat and mouse game where Trump was like, I'm using him, but I don't like him, but I like him. You never really know with Trump. It's like, does he like him? Does he not like him? Until the FBI raided him. I mean, that's a pretty big, they're not that tight sign, because I doubt the FBI would be raiding him if him and Trump were really cool. But the FBI raided his house, and I was doing a little bit of research on it. Obviously, it's early, and I think, even when the FBI raids you, it's like they're not going to fully explain everything right away. But from what I saw, they think that he has classified documents, and they're saying, you're not above the law, John Bolton, just because you have a cool mustache and you try to start wars all the time on behalf of foreign nations, but you say it's for our interests. You're not above the law, bucko. And from my research, some people think that they knew he had classified documents, possibly because of what he wrote in his memoir. I mean, once again, this is like rough, early reporting. This is allegedly, but they knew somehow that he might have had a classified document, and they raided him. I haven't really thought about what I was going to say about this, but it's hard to feel bad for John Bolton. He's one of my least favorite people in politics, which is hard to say because there's so many bad people in politics, like all of them. But it's just like, I'm pretty sure I've seen videos of him celebrating FBI raids and going on television, essentially justifying them for other people. And now it's happening to him. It's just like, what can you say that the internet's not already saying? So, God bless America. And I don't know what this means or where this is going. Only time will tell. Some people think this is just a cover up. They're trying to make people feel good about other things. For me, my best guess is maybe he did take a classified document, probably, but I don't understand how the classification, declassification works. To my knowledge, though, it's like depending who is running the government and who is running the FBI, even though it seems to be the same group of people, there's kind of reaching going on to some extent. I'm not going to defend John Bolton because I don't care about him, but, I don't know. Like, some people have certain documents, some people don't. They say it's classified or declassified. Like they tried to raid Trump over that. They said he had classified documents and he said he didn't. It's hard to really tell, but to me, I'm not going to say this is covering up other stuff, but the stuff that they're doing is just like I don't think it's going to lead to anything massive. Like, I do think it's somewhat of a show where they want to show you that they're doing something. And don't get it twisted. I do think that the intelligence communities are doing something. I mean, the CIA, they're probably starting wars all over the world. The FBI, they're doing all sorts of stuff, some good, some bad. They have, Dan Bongino will tweet about all the good things they're doing. But in general, I think their priorities don't seem to be my priorities. Like the Kash Patel FBI, they're talking about Russia Gate and Russia collusion, which, although it's important, I'm not saying it's not. I feel like it's like 10 years old now, and Trump is president. And, I'm all for going back and holding people accountable and doing what's right. It just seems so antiquated at this point. Like, they're repeating like 2017 talking points. Like, yeah, remember this? I do remember that, but I also remember the whole world being shut down during COVID. I remember trillions of dollars being printed. I remember pharmaceutical corruption. I remember lockdowns. I remember people forcing like toddlers and kids to get injections and wear masks and psychologically abusing our nation. I remember the Ukraine war starting. I remember Joe Biden funding a two-front war with Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Russia. I remember Trump getting in and doing the same exact thing. Like the whole Epstein thing to me is more interesting than that, because I think that is an even deeper rooted thing that kind of ties our country to other countries and provides a lot of context for why it seems like our entire Congress is compromised. So while I would never downplay Russia collusion and that, it does seem to be like, that's like the bone that they're throwing to the MAGA base. Like, we're going to really drain the swamp. We're going to take 4 years to talk about Russia collusion a few times. And we're really mad at remember the Clinton dossier. It's like so many things have happened since then. I'm not saying that you can't talk about it, but like John Bolton's getting raided for classified documents. Okay. Did they get the documents back? Like, is he like what? You can't really like send John Bolton to jail, because I feel like what John Bolton does is what Trump's entire administration does. Like, the difference between John Bolton and Marco Rubio on foreign policy is like nothing. Maybe Bolton took a few documents they didn't want him to make and wrote it in a book, and he needs to be held accountable. But I don't see them. I don't see them holding John Bolton accountable for the reasons I don't like John Bolton, because the reasons I don't like John Bolton are the wars that he essentially wants to start and launch. And the wars that he wants to start and launch seem pretty much identical to the entire Trump administration. Like, I think John Bolton works for the same people as most of Trump's administration. So what could they possibly be holding him accountable for? Like, I don't know. It would be like getting mad at Elise Stefanik because she, like, you know, I don't know. It's like, aren't you all like Elise Stefanik? Don't you all have the same paymasters, or no? Am I missing something? Let me know in the comment section. I'm going to read a few Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, and then I'm just going to kind of riff off of the comments and see what you guys are saying. I'll say something before that, but let me read a few ones that I marked down. So Ghislaine Maxwell, apparently she talked to somebody, I think in the Department of Justice, and they put the transcripts out, and she really wants a pardon. I mean, she might get a pardon. In my conspiratorial head, they'll call it a conspiracy theory, but just me connecting all the dots, this is what I'll say before I read some of the transcripts. I think Ghislaine Maxwell wants a pardon. I know the type of people that want her to get a pardon. I want to be very careful with my words, but there's people that speak on mainstream media, television, lawyers around the Republican Party that are already calling for her to get a pardon, saying she did nothing wrong. She just got caught up in it. And the way she's angling this is perfect for a pardon, because she's essentially saying, Trump is amazing. Trump is, he's the greatest. He never did anything. He's so inspiring. Epstein was like a lone wolf. He just did stuff and it wasn't me or whatever. And then essentially she's saying, there is no list, there is no blackmail, there is no intelligence communities. She's basically, I think, trying to work with the Trump administration, because it's a very masterful game that they're playing. Trump has now convinced not smart people, no offense, not people that actually pay attention and have a brain of their own, but the average like Trump sycophant that'll wear a hat that says Trump is right about everything when he's pathologically lying about a few topics. He's convinced them that it's just a Democrat hoax. Like, they think, oh, Epstein, Democrat, Epstein, so he's already written it off. Now Ghislaine comes in and she goes, yeah, Trump has never done anything wrong. And then the people that like Trump will be like, oh, look, Ghislaine Maxwell just proved it. And then Trump can be like, thank you, Ghislaine Maxwell. Thank you for making everybody realize that I did nothing wrong ever. Now you get a pardon. It's all being set up for her to get a pardon. And, I believe that the Epstein-Ghislaine orbit is the orbit that controls Donald Trump. It just seems obvious to me. I'm not saying he did anything. I'm not saying he committed a crime. I'm not going to make claims that I don't have. And to be honest, I don't think that's the entire explanation of the Epstein thing. Like, they're trying to say he's just this lone wolf. He's a freak. He's disgusting. He's a pervert. He's a criminal. But that's it. Just that. I think it was deeper than that. I think it was like he was doing this stuff. He was socializing with people. He was getting information on people, and he was utilizing whatever he could in any way. It was a lot of networking. It was a lot of financial transactions, obviously the stuff where they would do that. But I don't think that's the only story either. Like, I don't think Trump is necessarily committing crimes with him, but I know that Trump seems to be working for a foreign nation. Like, I'll just be clear with it. Trump says he wants a foreign nation to control our Congress. Trump takes over $500 million from people that specifically talk about him doing stuff for a foreign nation. Trump passes speech laws that say that I am now hateful for saying that it's all happening, while he speaks at donor conferences and says they always ask me to do things for a foreign nation. Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, I don't think it has nothing to do with it. And I think that there's something really deep going on. Like I said this the other day, I'm fine with people having different foreign policy. You like Ukraine, you like Russia, you like Israel, you like Palestine. That's on you, right? I like America. I can give my opinion as an American of what's going on in Israel and Palestine. But at the end of the day, my loyalty lies to the United States of America. With that being said, when you look at every politician that goes to Israel and kisses the wall and passes the speech law and screams anti-Semitism and says the approved talking points and acts like a foreign agent, they're almost all, if not all of them, are taking lobbying money. It would be like if somebody was flying to pharmaceutical land and doing like press conferences for Pfizer every single day. And I said, are you working for Pfizer? And they said, that's anti-pharmatic. That's anti-pharmatic. We need to pass speech laws that say you can't say, like, can you find a single politician that's shilling for pharmaceutical industry that's not getting paid by them? I'm not hateful for suggesting that they're getting paid off by the pharmaceutical industry. It's the same thing with Israel. All of these politicians that do that, they're almost all, if not all of them, getting paid. You can't find one that does the whole routine of like flying, kissing the wall, saying the talking points. They're all taking AIPAC money. If you feel so strongly about it, why do you have to take money in order to say it? Why don't you just do it out of your own free will? Because there's a lot of money there. So it's the same thing with Donald Trump and all this stuff. It's like there's a reason that everyone's doing these things against the interests of the United States people, against the First Amendment, against our foreign policy has essentially been, let our nation crumble while we run around the country fighting everybody else's wars, and then we'll rewrite the history books and tell everybody that it was like the greatest thing ever. And by the way, speaking of history books, look into the connection of Ghislaine Maxwell and her father, I believe, was a big history book owner. I think it was Macmillan and McGraw-Hill. There was some sort of connection there. But anyway, so now it's like this whole, oh, it's just the Democrats. There's nothing there. Let's forget about it. And let's listen to Kash Patel talk about, Russia collusion. Yeah, sure. Talk about Russia collusion, because the Democrats and the deep state were definitely trying to force Trump into a situation. But without being too wordy, while literally being too wordy, so I shouldn't have even said that, it's like, to me, this all seems more like a well-orchestrated WWE play than it does an actual opposition party. Let me explain myself. Trump gets into office. He's doing pretty well the first couple of years. I like him. Then in 2018, 2019, I remember he signed an omnibus bill, and he said, I'll never sign this omnibus bill again. I'll never sign another bill like that again. And I was like, based, Trump's a real one. Next year, he signs the omnibus bill. He brags about it. He says it raises the smoking age. It was such a liberal, socialist, communist omnibus bill that Ted Cruz, of all people, I don't even like Ted Cruz, but Ted Cruz outflanked Donald Trump from the right and started exposing the bill as a leftist scam. Trump basically became a socialist in 2019 and started pushing this scammy omnibus bill. Laura Ingraham, before the lockdown, started talking to Trump about H-1B visas, because Trump went further left than Bernie Sanders used to be. Bernie Sanders and Trump used to be against H-1B visas. Now Donald Trump is for H-1B visas, and Laura Ingraham's going in at him. Nobody's doing this reporting because it's all left versus right. And then Donald Trump signs the executive order in 2019, which is a universal flu vaccine executive order, which sounds identical to what Bill Gates told the press he told Trump about a year ago. So you can almost guarantee him and Bill Gates talked in 2018. Bill Gates tells the press, I just got Trump really interested in this universal flu vaccine, and Trump offered me a position in the White House. That's what Bill Gates said in 2018. In 2019, the same wording that Bill Gates said he told Trump about was passed through executive order before the lockdown and the pandemic. So the reason I'm saying all this is because it's like, oh, they do Russia collusion. Trump does everything they want. Trump does the lockdown. Trump extends it. Trump prints the money. Trump does Operation Warp Speed. Oh, Trump slips at the finish line. Then Joe Biden gets in, and Joe Biden starts the war in Ukraine, and Joe Biden mandates the vaccine. And now we're getting tyrannized by the left, but nobody's fighting back because everybody got set up by Donald Trump on January 6th, because Donald Trump made it all about himself. And then he brainwashed people for the next 3 years to forget about what's actually in front of them, all this medical tyranny. And people are like, let's talk about the election for 3 years because I believe in Donald Trump, when he's the one who set us up in the first place. And then he starts the war, and then he starts the war in Israel too. And Biden's in. I'm talking about Joe Biden. Now there's a two-front war with Joe Biden. Then Trump gets in. And now it's like, oh, well, Putin just said if I was in office, this war wouldn't have started. And people are like, see, it makes Trump look good, which it does. But what I'm trying to say is it seems more like a play than it does this spontaneous, oh, I can't believe that happened. I was really doing bad in the polls, but then Letitia James sued me and it made me look like a hero again. Whoa, what a coincidence. I'm flying up in the polls and I'm selling record merch and donations. To me, it just seems like WWE. So as much as I want them to do something about Russia collusion, because Russia collusion was the Democrats pushing Trump to try to start a war with Russia, which they were already manifesting, they got their war anyway. Nobody's going to be held accountable for that. And also, not only did they get their war, but we had Trump in office when the lockdown happened, not Hillary Clinton. And we got a lockdown. We got trillions of dollars of money printed. We got Operation Warp Speed. And Donald Trump, to this day, thinks his little vaccine scam was like the greatest thing in history. He wears a hat that says Trump was right about everything. He brags about his big socialist communist vaccine scam where he printed trillions of dollars, shut down the country, bragged about it, gave Democrats socialist communist power, gave them a bunch of funding, gave everybody mass testing and socialist vaccine and therapeutic funding. Pharmaceutical industry and the government shoved it down our throats. And then Trump runs around the press saying, I just did one of the greatest human achievements in modern history. I've had a better 6 months than George Washington. And he's wearing a Trump was right about everything shirt. And people believe it. So the reason I bring up all this stuff, it should be apparent, but it's like, I'm not one of these people. I don't trust Trump. I don't believe Trump. It all just seems like a show to me. Like now the Epstein thing's a hoax, but you're really interested in the thing that happened 10 years ago. Okay, let's talk about Russia collusion in 2017, but let's also look into the lockdown. Why did our country lock down? Why was 15 days to slow the spread turned into 30 days? Why did it turn into the CARES Act? Why did Trump try to kick Thomas Massie out of the party with all the big neocon Zionist donors? The things that actually matter are the things that Trump and his administration don't want to look into because they're complicit too. The Epstein situation isn't just a Democrat thing. It's way deeper than that. But that's why Trump doesn't want to look into it, because it's way deeper than that. And anything way deeper than that actually matters, and they don't want to do anything that actually matters, because the entire establishment has to frame things as left versus right, because it's like a brainwashing, Crips versus Bloods, you versus you. And it makes people think we're really winning, when it doesn't actually matter, because they just go back and forth. Both parties essentially are like doing the same thing. If you think they're actually fighting each other, then this stuff is interesting. It's like, man, they almost got him. Tom and Jerry, the cat almost got the mouse. They're this close. Oh my gosh, he almost got arrested. But if you look at it more like a WWE show, then to me, it's like he does this, then he hands the baton to them, or a tag team tags him in. Then he jumps in the ring. Then he tags him in. Then he jumps in the ring. That's what I think it is. So with the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff, I'll read a few quotes. Trump he knows Ghislaine Maxwell. He knows Jeffrey Epstein. Like he said, a lot of people knew Jeffrey Epstein. And he wasn't just a lone wolf. He was connected to other people in the same way they're all connected to other people. So they're all not really that interested in showing who they are, because they're all that person. And I'm not saying necessarily they all did sex crimes. That's not what I'm saying. It's deeper than even that. I know that's important, but I'm just saying, it's like people are like, oh, it's just that. It's way deeper than that. That's why they don't want to go into it. He's a lone wolf. And Trump's bringing up the Democrats smartly, because he's letting them know, if you guys want to push this on me, I'm going to redirect it to you. And they're like, yeah, we are involved also. So they might not want to push that hard if Trump starts naming their names, like Bill Clinton and Summers or whatever. There's a lot of other people. Let's read a few quotes from Ghislaine. Not that it really matters, because obviously she's just going to say whatever she has to get a pardon. She says, Epstein didn't kill himself, yet no blackmail list exists. She says, in prison where I am, they'll kill you for $25 worth of commissionary. So she's definitely trying to say she's this massive victim and she needs to be pardoned ASAP, because they're going to hurt her in there. She said, Ghislaine Maxwell says that Epstein worked for intelligence agencies are BS. So she's saying, listen, Epstein didn't work for an intelligence agency. She says that she admires Trump's extraordinary achievement in becoming the president now, and Trump has never in any context done anything appropriate. If you're trying to get a pardon from President Trump, because obviously Ghislaine Maxwell knows Trump very well, you think you're going to say, oh yeah, Trump's guilty. Yeah, that's not going to get you a pardon. That's going to get you Jeffrey Epstein. So she's like, oh, Trump's amazing. He's crushing. And if you look up quotes of Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell, you could use AI to just be like, tell me every time that Trump has talked about Ghislaine Maxwell, he talks about her extremely gracefully, extremely thoughtfully, and he pretty much never says anything bad about her. I can't remember exactly what he said, but the first couple of times she came up, he goes, I knew her. I wish her well. I wish her well. I wish her well. Trump has more grace when he talks about Ghislaine Maxwell than when he talks about Thomas Massie. Thomas Massie is the modern day Ron Paul. Thomas Massie is way closer to the founding fathers than Trump. And Trump has nothing nice to say about Thomas Massie. He's trying to throw him out of Congress with his Zionist donors, and they're trying to essentially rig our country for Israel and make sure that we don't have any Republicans in office that actually prioritize America. The exact thing that George Washington warned us about. You can't favor another country. Thomas Massie is being thrown out of Congress because he won't favor another country. They can use any excuse that they want, but we all know the real reason. So Trump has nothing nice to say about Thomas Massie. Trump constantly mocks Tucker Carlson now for doing real journalism. Yet with Ghislaine Maxwell, you can't find a single bad quote about Trump's talking about her. I wish her well. I wish her well. She says Trump's extraordinary. They know each other, and I would not be surprised if Trump pardoned her. One more quote that I want to read from this, because I saw that Sagar and GD posted it, but also a lot of people have. I'm just looking at his feed right now. Ghislaine Maxwell said, anything that touches Israel or the state of Israel, I'm always interested in because my father loved Israel, and so I pay attention to it, and we have ties to, Israel. So she admitted that, which is shocking. I mean, I guess she's being super honest there, but we know. We know she has ties to Israel. We know she likes Israel. So does everyone in our government, and so does Donald Trump, and so does Trump's donors. And I want to look it up to make sure. Hold on. Because I want to just be careful whenever I talk about this stuff, just to be accurate. I want to look up real quick what Alan Dershowitz said about Ghislaine Maxwell, because I believe, let me see. Yeah, okay. Epstein lawyer, well, he was formerly Epstein's lawyer, but he says obviously he didn't do anything wrong. But he said he responded to Elon Musk's claim about Trump being named in the files, and as Ghislaine Maxwell pins her hope for a pardon. I mean, that's not really anything, but I'm pretty sure, I don't want to overspeak, but I'm pretty sure I remember seeing him say that he thinks that, oh, here it is. Ghislaine Maxwell should have her prison sentence of 20 years commuted and be called to testify to Congress about what she knows, said Alan Dershowitz. So he's one of the proponents of lessening her sentence and, trying to get her out earlier. If you actually know what's going on, none of this is surprising. It's all just wildly obvious, but it requires people knowing more than just liking people they see on television. If your baseline for anything is I trust Trump, I think he's right about everything, then you know nothing and you're basically a victim to whatever he wants to tell you. It's the Democrats, it's this, it's that. There's a lot of Republicans who essentially work in the same orbit. And I think if they could, and then I'll read a few comments, but if they can and know that they won't suffer politically or in the polls too much, I think Trump's administration will pardon Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't think they have any issue with her. I don't think they think she really did anything wrong. And I think Trump looks at her like, dang, if if she's getting in trouble, that's not we gotta, I don't think he looks at her as some horrible person. I think he looks at her as I know who she is, and I wish her well, as he says. So if they can, they will pardon her, in my opinion. The question is, can they pardon Ghislaine Maxwell without it hurting them really badly politically? That's the question. In the last term, 2020, but because of the lockdowns and the pandemic, nobody was paying attention, so it was the perfect time. A foreign spy, one of the worst foreign spies in U.S. history, Jonathan Pollard, who stole United States secrets, I think gave them to Israel, and then they started doing deals with the Soviet Union. He was, I believe, set to go back home, but on his way back home, I think Trump pardoned his handler and people around him to make sure they could never get in trouble. And then Jonathan Pollard flew home on Trump's biggest donor's jet, the Adelson family jet. That's how they got home. The spy that stole American secrets landed in Israel, had a hero's welcome, and Netanyahu was there to greet him. He's a national hero. Stole American secrets, damaged our country. They love him in Israel. Floyd Mayweather even hangs out with him in Israel now, because that's just what people do apparently in Israel. But that's the type of stuff that happens when no one's paying attention. So if there was ever a time for Ghislaine Maxwell to get pardoned, I guarantee Trump would probably do it. It's just the question, is there ever going to be something like a COVID level distraction where nobody notices and cares and nobody will report on it? I'm not really sure. I don't know that. I mean, hopefully there's nothing like that would be so huge that no one paid attention to everything, but only in the minds of people that don't. Let me try to explain this with Bill Gates. And then I'm looking at the comments now too. So any super chats, I'll try to read them. In the mind of most Trump supporters, conservatives, truthers, patriots, whatever you want to call people, the people that are not leftists, right? Pretty much nobody likes Bill Gates. I don't know a single right-winger Trump supporter, Republican, independent that leans right. I've never met a single person that's Bill Gates is a pretty awesome guy. Literally nobody on our side likes Bill Gates at all. Yet nobody on our side even knows, does the reporting, or seems to care that Donald Trump and Bill Gates are not like mortal enemies. And I'm not asking Trump to be an enemy with everybody because I don't believe in that. But Trump met with Bill Gates in 2018. Bill Gates told him about a universal flu vaccine idea. Trump passed a universal flu vaccine idea in 2019, and Trump offered Bill Gates a White House position. So it's like, in the mind of Trust the Plan MAGA, they think Trump's fighting the Bill Gates agenda. In reality, Trump's working with Bill Gates. I say this to say this. It's like, in the mind of MAGA, Trump hates Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and he's fighting the left, blah, 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 and it's a Democrat hoax. The reality is not, like, if you can't figure out who Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell are at this point, and who, you know, their crowd is, it's the same crowd as the Trump administration. It's the same, like, he only rewards people who move in that direction, and he punishes people who call it out. So it's like, to me, I guess the interesting part is, when are people on the right going to, in mass numbers, start learning more to be able to challenge the Trump administration more? It's definitely happening. It's not like it's not happening at all, but it does seem like the critical mass level has not been reached where the Trump administration actually has to do that much. But, you know, they are asking about Epstein a lot. A lot of people on social media are paying attention. I've noticed that Instagram and Twitter are like 10 years ahead of Facebook. Listen, Facebook has been, business-wise, the best platform for me. I love my audience there. I appreciate everything. I'm very grateful. I'm just being honest to my Facebook audience. As somebody that's grown up in this movement, I've been here for 10 years. I've been doing reporting. The average opinion on Facebook about really important topics, people are so far behind X, and they're so far behind Instagram, because people on Instagram and X are generally younger. And the Republican conservative, like, truther movement from 40 years old to like 20 years old is actually able to adapt and evolve and learn things and break narratives a little easier. And the over 50 crowd, they think Trump is literally better than George Washington. Not all of them, not everybody, because there's a lot of people of every age group that think differently. There's anomalies, but on average, I'm just giving you like the rundown. On average, most people on Facebook seem to think Trump's a better president than George Washington. He's right about everything. And there's no reason to look any deeper because Trump's got their back. And weirdly enough, that's what's holding us back. I'm not asking for Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris, but people need to be able to understand that Trump is, you know, better than other politicians, especially on the left. However, not being able to challenge him is going to destroy our country. That's what I think. And I know that the younger generation seems to get it more. The older generation probably will never get it. Someone said, is Facebook that stupid? I'm not trying to badmouth my biggest audience. I reach 150 million people a month on Facebook, but yes. I mean, yes. Look at the comments. I literally asked, I said, do you think Trump is better than George Washington, or had a better 60 days than the first 60 days of George Washington? The amount of yeses will shock you. It's like, it's actually crazy, but I get it. He's like, to them, Trump is like Superman. It's like if you grew up, like, it's like you're 12 years old and you like Mega Man, you know? Is Mega Man better than, you know, George Bush? Yeah, Mega Man's my hero. Trump is their hero. Trump is their world. Trump is their God. He's their Lord and Savior. They believe in Trump like a Christian believes in Jesus Christ. Christians believe in Christ. Muslims believe in Allah. Not sure what Judaism believes in, but you guys can let me know in the comment section if you're Jewish. Hindus, I don't know what they believe in. If you're Hindu, let me know what you believe in. A Trump supporter believes in Trump. Their trust in Trump is like a Christian's belief in Christ. And a lot of Christians believe in Trump like he's Christ. Like, he'll wear a hat that says he's right about everything, and I'll be like, he's not right about everything. And they'll be like, oh, like, it's literally a religion. And then you mix it in with the Bolshevik counterintelligence trust the plan, which is like the most effective psyop ever. Now it's fusing with this like never-ending game of Nancy Drew, R.L. Stine, choose your own adventure mystery, where everything that happens is this secret plan that he has to beat up the bad guys or something. So, you know, if a Democrat takes $500 million from a donor and starts working for that donor, people are like, yeah, that Democrat sold out. But when Donald Trump does it, you're deranged if you notice that he does it. And it's all part of a different plan. It's like, it has become a religion for some people. So this is where I know some people might think this is repetitive, but I think this psychology is everything in politics. It's the next 4 years. And if you understand this, there's nothing else to really know, because everything else is going to go through this lens. It's everybody's psychologically confused because the left went insane, right? They started just like lying about everything and just being wrong about almost every aspect of society. And then they were lying about Trump for a long time, and they were trying to like oust Trump and make him look really bad because they hated Donald Trump. So a lot of people on the right, they were just so used to the left hating Trump and lying about Trump. So they can't process, like, I don't know if it's an IQ thing or a brainwash thing or a social programming thing, but they can't process, like, to them, it's like either you like Trump or you're the left hating Trump. They can't figure out there's other groups where it's like sometimes the left is wrong, but Trump's also wrong in a different way. They can't figure that out. You point out something that Trump's doing wrong, they think you're Joy Reid. They think you're Kamala Harris. If Trump does literal socialism or borderline communism and prints money like Karl Marx on steroids, and you point it out and you say, yeah, that's not, I don't agree with that. That's socialist. That's going to destroy our currency. And to be honest, it's just not good. They don't understand. They're like, are you the left? Because to them, Trump is the center of the universe. Trump is the most right-wing person. Trump is he is George Washington. He's better than George Washington. He never makes mistakes. Everything he does has a plan. So if you ever challenge Trump, then you're the bad guy and he's the good guy. You understand what I'm saying? That's like the social manipulation that a lot of people have. And that's the story of entire politics. Some people they don't understand that there's more than two options, which is why the elites think that humans are cattle and they treat you like animals. Because they're like, these people literally don't get that we control both sides, And once you figure out what's going on, everything else makes sense. I'll give you an example. Recently, Larry Ellison, who's one of the most powerful people in America, Trump seems to be good friends with him. In 2020, TikTok was under, threat because they're Chinese and, we don't want China to control our people. So Trump, most people don't even know this, but Trump came in and said, you have to give it to an American company. And I don't know if it fully went through because it's been like a never ending situation, but he chose Larry Ellison and Oracle to receive part of TikTok. And if you go search Oracle, Larry Ellison, TikTok, you'll find articles saying they received TikTok. So since 2020, and like I said, it's been a fluid thing. So I don't know if they ever fully got it or what the lawsuits were like, but that was China's way of like staying afloat in America. Trump was like, you should give it to Larry Ellison and Oracle. Oracle also runs a lot of stuff when it comes to AI technology. I mean, you could look into all the stuff they do. He's one of the richest people in the country, Larry Ellison, right? His son, I think his name is David Ellison. His son, through their money or investments, I'm not really sure, has now taken over CBS and Paramount. So now CBS and Paramount is under his production company, which is Larry Ellison's son. And they just did a massive deal with my favorite sports organization. It's called the UFC. So I think it's like a 7-year, $7.7 billion thing. I also saw that David Ellison, who just took over CBS and Paramount, they're trying to work out a big deal with the Free Press, which is Barry Weiss's organization. Barry Weiss is, in my opinion, God bless her soul, she seems like a lovely lady. I'm sure we'd get along as human beings. But to me, Barry Weiss is as fake opposition as it can possibly get. She smeared Tulsi Gabbard when Tulsi Gabbard was telling the truth about Syria. She called her a toady on Joe Rogan, didn't even know what the word meant. She was just repeating other people. Barry Weiss is not smart. She's not honest. She's not real opposition. Barry Weiss is essentially, in my opinion, fake opposition. And she's essentially going to play both sides and be like, I'm a liberal, but I'm conservative, but I'm realistic, but I think the left's going too far. And it's all going to be a funnel to pro-Israel Zionism. She's a fake opposition, in my opinion, corny journalist that is essentially going to act like she's middle of the road and doing really good work. And she's not like the other liberals. But the main tenet, I believe, of her entire thing is Zionism. She's pro-Israel, and she's going to run everything through that lens, like every other media company, because that's what makes everything fake opposition. It's like there's the left, there's the right, but we all agree on this. Anyway, they're being acquired allegedly, and there's some sort of deal between Larry Ellison's son. So now he owns Oracle. Trump was trying to give him TikTok. His son owns CBS Paramount. Now they're partnered with the UFC, which Dana White is not the owner of. Dana White's the CEO. The owner of the UFC is Ari Emanuel, who also owns one of the biggest talent agencies in Hollywood, and he owns Endeavor, and I think Zuffa is the UFC. And his brother, Rahm Emanuel, is one of the most famous Democrats of all time. He was big in Chicago. I think he worked in Democrat cabinets before. But it's like between those two, that's a lot of real estate. And I don't care. I'm not jealous, and somebody's got to own it. I'm just saying it's like the new media is going to reconstruct, and I already know what they're going to do with like Larry Ellison's son. They're going to make it look like, oh, we're right wing again, and we're not so liberal, and we're doing all this cool stuff. But bringing on Bari Weiss and trying to sign a huge deal to her just shows me where they're going, which is like it's just going to be another fake opposition jump off. Like Bari Weiss is whatever, but it's like she's not worth however much money they're paying her, in my opinion, and nothing she ever puts out or a news organization that she ever controls is never going to appeal to me, because I already know what it is. And just saying all that stuff, like I'm not mad at anybody. I don't hate anybody. If you know where things are coming from, it makes a lot more sense. Like if Trump in his first term is going to work with RFK Jr., then he takes money from the pharmaceutical industry and says no to RFK, or he takes $100 or $400 million from a family that wants stuff done for Israel, and he starts doing stuff for Israel. Things make more sense than if you're just watching Fox News, like believing these people are beating up the left. Like your understanding has to come from somewhere, and you got to understand what the matrix is and who owns what and why they're doing certain things. And it's pretty clear, like Tucker Carlson was the best person at Fox News. He got fired because he was being too honest. Candace Owens was the biggest superstar at Daily Wire. She got fired because she was being too honest and doing reporting that they don't want to be done. And they'll always tell you, we believe in free speech, right? We're not Germany. We're not the UK. We're not, South America. We have the freedom of speech. Sure. And no company has to publish anybody. That's not like the Daily Wire has to. But they frame themselves as, we're going to let Candace Owens do whatever she wants. But then she started questioning World War II narratives and Israel. And those in other countries are crimes. Candace is banned from Australia. She can't go to Australia. She can't travel to certain countries because of her reporting on World War II. So this is how the machine works. In America, they tell you, you have the First Amendment here to do it. But if you do it, you're not going to be able to work at any of the big media companies. And then we're going to call you an anti-Semite. But we're on your side, and we're not against your First Amendment to do it. We just think it's hate speech, but we don't believe in hate speech. But we think you're being hateful. But it's not a lawsuit in America. But in other countries, it would be. So what's the big story? Is the big story that Candace Owens said something in America that could get her thrown in prison in Germany? So what should we do if Candace Owens says something, questions a narrative that would get her in prison in Germany? Should we call her hateful? Or should we point out the fact that we have the First Amendment and other countries, that's a crime? It's not a crime in America, but it's basically a thought crime, which will get you blacklisted from every major media company. And the more real estate they take over, the less places you're going to be allowed to go. But that's the interesting thing about the internet is she's huge. Tucker's huge. For the first time in history, there is a realignment where people have created enough social capital to create their own legacy without the mainstream media. So, I would assume that the mainstream media is going to try to counter that. Like they don't want Tucker and Candace to be able to be big, or someone like a Nick Fuentes or the Hodge twins. Hodge twins are doing whatever they want. Name a bunch of people that are not doing what is allowed on Fox News, Will they be able to put the genie back in the bottle? I have no idea, but I highly suspect that people are going to try, over the next couple of years. Megyn Kelly, for the first time that I've ever heard, she talked about the Israel lobby, right? With Marjorie Taylor Greene, which regardless of what you think about it, Like there is an Israel lobby, and it's pretty deep. I don't know. Are you allowed to say that? Too bad I just said it. I've never heard Megyn Kelly ever talk about that. She talked about it one time, in my view. Look at all the backlash on social media. Mark Levin's like, forget about her. These people are so intolerant. Megyn Kelly can be on their side 99% of the time. That's what I've learned about like Zionist sycophants. Unless you're literally working for them and you're like a robot, they're going to hate you. You could literally be like, I love Israel. I support Israel. They can do whatever they want. They could bomb a bunch of people. They could blow up an entire nation. They could just wipe the nation off the map. They could do whatever they want. But I'm going to sit down and have a 15-minute conversation journalistically with Marjorie Taylor Greene. They still hate you. You have to like be their little robot. You have to be their good boy. You have to take their paid trips to Israel, put on a little vest, pretend like you're a journalist on a propaganda tour, or else they hate you. There is no compromising with people that want you in 100% working for them on every level. Megyn Kelly barely says anything about it. She did one thing, and look at the backlash of her on Twitter. Just letting people know, not playing the victim, everyone in media has always known this. For the first time in history, people can talk about the Israel lobby without losing their entire careers because Megyn Kelly, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, they have their own structure where they're not going to lose that many sponsors now. The cat's out of the bag, the genie's out of the bottle. Most of the world has woken up to what's going on, and the sponsors are not jumping ship like they used to. So now, because it's safe, Megyn Kelly's talking about it. I knew this in 2019. I knew that everyone else knew about this in 2019 because I'm not stupid. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Not even Candace Owens wanted to talk about it in 2019. She worked for Prager, Daily Wire, Turning Point. The end of her like mainstream career would have happened way sooner if she would have talked about it in 2019. And I don't care because everybody has a right to do what they want. But do I think Megyn Kelly just figured out about this just now? No, now it's safe. So she talks about it. Tucker, he got off Fox News. It's safe to talk about somewhat, so he talks about it. I like Tucker. I'm just saying. People that don't know this stuff, they think like, oh, now these people are no, it's safe now. You're allowed to now. From 2022 till probably 1980, I don't even know because I wasn't even alive then, but your career was over, literally over. You couldn't hold a job. They wouldn't hire you. Not only could you not hold a job and they wouldn't hire you, but they would blacklist you, call you names, use their media power, which controlled everything, to make you look like a psychopath. They'd give you the craziest, worst labels ever, so you couldn't hold a job, so you couldn't make money. So nobody wanted to do it. It's like, okay, what do you want me to read? What's our foreign policy now? We're going to Iraq? Don't call me an anti-Semite. That's what it was forever. So for the first time in recent history, people can make money and not go broke talking about the Israel lobby. Megyn Kelly does it one time. Go look at who's smearing her insanely on social media. She didn't even say anything. That's how these people act. The Zionist crowd, it's like why are you talking about that? Because it's real, because it's interesting, because there's a lobbyist organization that brags that most of Congress is paid by them, and anybody that won't take their money, they'll won't give foreign aid to a foreign nation and won't vote for the IHRA speech laws seems to get run out of Congress. I don't know. It's worth a story now. So thank goodness that the system allows people to talk about this now. And the reason I brought that up is because I'm sure there's a concerted effort to close this window of opportunity that we have because of X, because of Instagram, because of even Facebook now allows you to say stuff. Like someone's going to try to close this window. Why wouldn't they? Let's see. People are just having conversations with themselves in the comment section. That's nice. Someone said, pathetic what these brainwashed Fs. Okay, Carol, I got you. Anybody got anything interesting to say? A super chat or just a comment in general that isn't just you guys arguing with each other? Someone said, at least they're helping people wake up. At least they're friends so they could talk about it, drinking some beer, stuff like that. I don't know what that meant, but no, I'm grateful that people are saying certain things now. I'm just saying there's going to be a play by big corporations probably we'll see though. I don't know. It's not all about you, Anomaly. God, I'm not saying it's all about me. I'm not the one wearing an Anomaly was right about everything hat, even though my track record's better than Trump's. But Trump was smearing Pat Buchanan in the 90s, calling him an anti-Semite and a racist. But it is my show. I'm not saying it's all about me, but if I'm on a show and I'm looking for comments, like it's not like you reading a comment, anyone could hear it. So someone said Trump will make noticing illegal. He's definitely working at it. But this is the thing too. And I wish I could get a big platform on some sort of Republican thing to debate people, because I feel like I'm one of the better people to debate it. Like I really know my stuff. I'm really calm about it. When Republicans talk about Black or Hispanic or any other Muslim, any other thing, they say, we don't believe in hate speech. Policing speech doesn't work. They have an ideology. They say, not only is it anti-American, but it doesn't work. It does the opposite. You try to stop racism with hate speech, it increases. You try to, like the racial cohesion has been worse, I think, over the last couple years because of obsessive, like just over the top, ridiculous, anti-reality, like leftism. And it hasn't helped race relations at all. Why do Republicans think that all this anti-Semitism policing is going to help stop anti-Semitism? Every year they're like, it's the worst year. It's the worst year. It's the worst year. It's record high. It's record high. It's record high. Do you think it has any correlation to all of the hate speech policing that you admit doesn't work for other categories? If it doesn't work for any other category, why would it work for that category? It doesn't work. It literally does the opposite. So not only are they rigging America for Israel, but they're actually making people less distrustful. And then, of course, the real thing that has launched all the quote unquote anti-Semitism that they're complaining about is Israel's actions. You could say they're justified. She could say they're not justified. I'm not here asking you if Israel's actions are justified or not. I'm just being honest. Whether you think they're justified or not, Israel's actions has led to the anti-Semitism that everyone's seeing. So for every other category in the world, Republicans say self-accountability matters, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, don't play the victim, and hate speech policing doesn't work. They say that for every category. But for Israel, they say playing the victim does work. You are the victim. There is too much hate. We're going to do hate speech policing, and we're going to try to rig our society on every level to stop people from talking about you. But it's not working. I wonder why. Republicans know why it's not working. It's not working for the same reason they say it doesn't work for any other group. But for Jewish people and Judaism and Israel, all of a sudden, Ted Cruz and all the other AIPAC like slob knobbers, now all of a sudden they think it does work and everybody's an anti-Semite and they cry hate speech. I've said this for years now. Anybody who uses the word racist, sexist, xenophobic, or anti-Semitic, or anti-vaxxer, or climate denier, they're not saying anything. These words basically mean you're wrong, I'm right, you're bad, I'm good. You've said a bad boy word, I'm the good boy word. Nobody uses the word anti-vaxxer in a negative term unless they're a shill for the pharmaceutical industry or they're just lying. I don't understand why you're saying what you're saying, so I'm just going to say you hate all vaccines because you're using science I don't understand. I'm going to say you hate an entire race because you want to build a wall. I'm going to say you hate women because you think they suck at basketball. I'm going to say you hate women because you don't want them flying planes. It's an easy cop-out where it's like you hate this entire gender because you said this word. Anybody, and this is every word, anybody, and Republicans do this too, but Democrats do it as well. Anybody who uses the word racist, sexist, xenophobic, to me, they just sound like idiots because they sound like a bunch of babies. Like, I'm crying. You said a bad boy word. The Democrats are the real racists, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's so played out. Speak clearly. I'll tell you about race. I'll tell you about what I think about religion. I'll tell you what I think about gender without using those words. And if I think you're wrong and I think you're being mean, I can explain how you're wrong and how you're being mean without using those words because I'll speak clearly and thoroughly. Those words don't mean anything. And they're all being weaponized and used. Now they say they're policing anti-Semitism on TikTok, so you can't criticize Israel. But they're going to say that, you also, white supremacy is really bad. But it's like, is Jewish supremacy also bad? Is Black supremacy bad? Is Asian supremacy bad? Why is one supremacy the worst thing ever? But you have a former IDF member that's basically policing people to not allow them to talk and say someone's a Jewish supremacist while they're punching down at whites. It's all language manipulation. I don't care if Jewish people think they're the best or black people think they're the best or what. Like, to me, I don't care. I'm not threatened by someone's opinion thinking their race is better. Isn't that what the Olympics are about? You root for your race, or you root for your nation rather, but maybe not race. But if every race can do it except for Europeans, now it's rigged against Europeans. If it's the exact opposite for Jewish people, they have an IDF member policing people talking about them while other races can't even stand up for themselves. Now it's just rigged against white people. And they'll say you're hateful if you notice it. All of this is manipulation. It's all language manipulation in order to geoengineer or socially engineer society, socially engineer, not geoengineer, into slowly molding them into something that, is controllable and wrong. And they do that on every platform. They still have rules where they say, you can do that, but you can't do this. You can do that, you can't do this. Why did Elon Musk have to go on a Ben Shapiro apology tour? If you don't know what a Ben Shapiro apology tour, it's my joke nickname where if you say something about the people that must not be named, you have to fly to a foreign country and bow down to a bunch of religious leaders and Ben Shapiro to acknowledge that you made a bad boy mistake for the people that definitely don't run things. But Elon Musk, the most famous person in the world, he had to go on this little Ben Shapiro apology tour because he said a bad boy word. Does anybody remember what Elon Musk said in order to earn his Ben Shapiro anti-Semitism apology tour in a foreign nation that he had to do? I'm not going to wait because it's going to be on a 10-second delay. But what he said was he noticed that not all, but some Jewish organizations were pushing anti-white hatred. And he said, if racism is bad and one race hating another race is bad, then that's also bad. I don't understand. This is what Elon was saying. Like, I've noticed it was late at night too, so he might have been hopped up on a little something, but he said he noticed that there were a few Jewish organizations pushing anti-white rhetoric. And then he had to fly to a foreign country and essentially apologize to Ben Shapiro. Why? Because he noticed what you're not supposed to notice. If a white group being mean to black people is bad, why would a black group being mean to white people not being bad? If a white person saying something about Jewish people is bad, what about Jewish groups saying stuff about white people? I've said this on my show, and I feel like this is one of my quotes. They always like to quote me in the press for being hateful, but why not quote this one? Because it's awesome. And I'm not hateful, by the way. I'm just honest. If a Jewish organization or a person sees any other person and they perceive what you're saying to them as hate, it's called anti-Semitism. What is it called if you perceive that they're being hateful to you? What's it called? It's also called anti-Semitism because it's anti-Semitism either way. If they think you're being hateful to them, it's anti-Semitism. If you know for a fact that they're being hateful towards you, it's anti-Semitism because you're not even supposed to point it out. They're just supposed to have free reign to just not do whatever they want. Like the ADL, you look at their website, they're a Jewish organization founded by B'nai B'rith, and then Ben Shapiro says they're a progressive organization. He goes, they're a progressive leftist organization. If they're a progressive leftist organization, why is Elise Stefanik speaking at their conferences? Because they're not a progressive leftist organization. They're a Jewish organization that has leftist ideals somewhat, but if they were a leftist progressive organization, a Republican in the Trump administration wouldn't be speaking there. She is, because Elise Stefanik is the biggest Israel first shill out there, just like all of them. But look at all the terms that they have a problem with. If there was an organization of any other race that classified things the same way they classify things towards other races, they would be freaking out. And this is the same thing that Republicans say to black people and Hispanics. They say, practice what you preach. Don't be a hypocrite or else people aren't going to like it. But Republicans just have a massive blind spot to one group that they believe the exact opposite for. What am I talking about? I'm talking about when Elon Musk had to go on an apology tour because he noticed that certain Jewish organizations were pushing anti-white hatred, according to Elon. So he had to go apologize to the people because he was so sorry for his hate or whatever, even though what he said was literally not wrong. You know, there are, just like there are certain, this is a place we have to get to in society, or else everything's just going to be rigged for the worse. Either we're the United States of America where rules apply to everybody, or we're not. Like the days of saying that white people can be racist towards black people, racist, but then black people can't be racist towards white people. It's just like a made up thing that somebody said, where it's like, well, we were told that because of this and that, we can. It's like the rules apply to everybody. Like love is love, hate is hate, right is right, wrong is wrong. And not everybody claiming right and wrong are even right. Like some people are just liars. Some racial activists in every racial community are just wrong. Some pastors are liars. So, you know, we have to be careful with playing God and saying who is right and wrong, especially when the dumbest and fakest people seem to be like the activists of every community. But in general, it's like we were raised on this idea that only white people could hate everybody else and everybody can just hate on white people. And that's just okay because white people did all these bad things and they're coming from a position of power, and that's just okay. It doesn't make any sense. So it's like, what if you're a poor white kid and some black guy's a CEO and he hates you? Is that racism or no? Because the net sum of his race is doing worse than the net sum of yours. It's this stupid game to just weasel your way around just a moral code that makes sense. So I'm just saying with other groups, because not all, but some people that are Jewish, they consider their ethnicity Jewish. They don't see themselves as white. They see themselves as a separate group. So if white people punching down at black people or vice versa, black people punching up to white people, you know, economically isn't racism, then how is Jewish hating on other races or whatever? I'm not saying that they do, but like, let's just say they're the CEO of almost every company out there, but it's anti-Semitism to notice that they run almost everything. But if they're pushing anti-Europeanism, is that hate because they have more power than the average European person? Or no, that's anti-Semitism because you're just supposed to think that your race has all the power where everyone can hate on you, but when you notice you don't actually have power, you just can't even talk about it. Like, it's all these stupid rules that don't make any sense. It's like anti-Bible, anti-logic, anti-nation, you know? It's like, thou shalt not steal unless you're of this race, then you can steal because it's not that bad of a thing. And then you listen to liberals and like someone will get robbed and a leftist will be like, oh, you should have just let them rob you because of who they are. It's like, what world are we living in? No person of any race should ever let someone rob them or have to let someone rob. If that's the new rule of this nation, like who's running our country making these rules? Because it's definitely not why. If my race had all the power, why would they be making everything at the like reverse helping my ethnic group? Like, do they just hate us? Do we just hate ourselves? Like, and I'm not for that for any group. I don't think America's about making laws for certain races. I think it's about making like, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do this. And if anyone can't follow that, then they should be held accountable, because nobody of any race or religion in America should have to live in a shithole ghetto where bars have to be on the windows because people are criminals. It's like, that sucks. But I'm just saying, on every level of every social media company and the schools, they're rigging what race is to say this race can be beaten down on, this race can't say anything. Everything you say about this race is hate speech. Even if they're hating on you, it's still hate speech of you towards them. It's just all these stupid fake rules. So on any level of society, if you challenge these rules and if you're smart enough to break down their linguistics, they're going to call you a racist, a sexist, a xenophobe, an anti-Semite, a conspiracy theory, a climate change denier. Like, they have a word for an anti-vaxxer. These are just words they use if you figure out what they're doing and you want to make it fair. I'm not anti-vaccine, but I think the pharmaceutical industry is corrupt, and I don't want to inject synthetic mRNA in my veins by Pfizer, who has one of the biggest criminal lawsuits in history. That makes me an anti-vaxxer? If I don't like, every type of seltzer, if I don't like cherry seltzer and I don't want to drink grape seltzer, but I'll drink other seltzers, am I anti-seltzer? Are you going to accuse me of hating all seltzers because I don't like two of them? Only in vaccines will they accuse you of hating them all if you just don't want one. But now people are waking up to the entire industry and questioning them all. So it's the same thing with race or religion. Like, we've been, it's not to blame anybody, but it's like, you can't expect everybody forever to want to play along to these lopsided rules and not at least question them. So, I feel like the Trump administration is behind on these topics. You know, I think some of them they get, and they're a little more base than liberals, but there's some topic like the anti-Semitism topic. I don't hate any country or any group of people, but if you have a former IDF member running TikTok that is enforcing one thing for her race and religion and another thing for my race and religion, it's not fair. I'm not the hateful one. It's hateful to push an algorithm that's lopsided against my race and my religion. It's not fair. It doesn't make sense. And when I notice it, the GOP would probably say that I'm committing anti-Semitism because they're trying to rig America for Israel. So it's like the more they rig it, the more people notice. The more people notice, the more they say they're being hateful. The more they say they're being hateful, the more they pass hate speech laws. The more they pass hate speech laws, the more people talk about it. The more people talk about it, they say, why are you talking about it? And I've said this before, but it's an important point. The talking points are so dumb. They're like, well, why do you talk about that country more? They're doing more. Well, how are they doing more? Do you really want to know? Because I could explain it over the course of an hour exactly what's going on. It's the same thing with Ukraine. I've probably talked about Ukraine more than any other European country in the last 2 years. Do I just hate Ukraine? No, I don't hate Ukraine. I don't hate Ukrainians. I don't want anybody to die. And I feel like it's sick what's going on in Ukraine and Russia. I'm not picking a side. I'm just being honest about it. But nobody really accuses me that much of hating Ukraine. I don't know, like, even though I talk about them constantly in a not so positive light, not because I don't like them, but because their leverage over my government or their foreign aid because of the politicians that run my country, it's annoying. It's not Ukrainians' fault. I'm not even going to say it's Zelensky's fault because Zelensky is a puppet. It's not like he's thinking of all these things. He's a plant. He's an actor. He's a puppet. He's a total fraud. And my politicians are responsible. Does anybody accuse me of anti-Ukrainophobism? No. So I'm just breaking down the linguistics of everything they do because that's everything. You know, they use linguistics, rigged algorithm, rigged rules, and people are starting to get annoyed of it. Anybody of any ethnic group doesn't like anybody. I'm not gonna say anybody. Good people. It doesn't matter where you came from. You came from America. You came from New York City. You came from Venezuela. You came from Japan. Your ancestors were here. They were Native Americans. They sailed over on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, Canada. Any decent person that's not like completely stupid that lives in America, and it's most of the country, by the way, a lot of great people here. Nobody wants to live in a shitty neighborhood where you have to have bars on the windows because everybody's a criminal, or there's so many criminals that you can't even like leave your window open. Nobody wants to live that way. Not a single decent person that worked really hard to get to this country or was in this country. Nobody. Yet we're not supposed to talk about which neighborhoods look like that. And we're not supposed to notice patterns because it's just so hateful. It's not hateful. Anybody of any race, I guarantee you right now, there's black people listening to the stream. There's white people. There's Jews. There's Christians. There's Muslims. There's South Americans. There's Mexicans. Anybody that's watching the stream or listening right now, they're like, yeah, that's true. Why would I want my family to grow up in a shitty neighborhood where crimes and murders happen and theft happens all the time? Like, nobody wants that. Yet Trump is kind of doing it. That's why people like him. But like, nobody's addressing crime for the longest time. They're doing the opposite. They're like, if you talk about this, you're bad. The people doing it aren't bad. The people that are talking about it are just racist and hateful. It's like, how long do the people running the media and how long do the politicians, especially the leftist ones, how long do they think people are going to like allow that or agree with it? Like, people are just going to sit here for 50 years and be like, yeah, they're right. Everybody's right. It's like, no, your job as a politician is to fix this crap, or at least if you're not going to fix it, stop calling everybody racist who's talking about it, because nobody wants to live this way. Nobody. And the people that do want to live that way, nobody wants to live around them. So is calling everyone racist all the time and hateful and xenophobic, is that going to fix it? No, it's just nobody's going to care. And that's what's going on. Like, nobody wants to deal with that stuff. So it's the same thing about every topic, every word that they use. It doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter. I'm not sexist. I like women, but feminism has gone too far. Women are like, oh, look, women umpire. She's horrible. Oh, women's sports. Cool. Very cool, dude. Now I turn on ESPN. It looks like MSNBC. Might as well be The View. It's like you got 7 women talking about the NFL. Okay. It's like women go to Taylor Swift concerts. I don't like Taylor Swift. Does ESPN need to look like a Taylor Swift concert now? Like, who is this for? It's not for me. I don't think it's better than it used to be. Does that mean I hate women? It's all just so stupid and fake. Someone says society has too much feminine energy. It's true. Well, I have an unpopular opinion now. I think that there's a lot of talented women that deserve what they have gotten. But also, I think that women have weaseled their way into like the high levels of so many companies, and they're not the most talented person there. And they use this like passive aggressive, like, feminist energy to do it. It's like every time somebody ruins a logo like Cracker Barrel, you look at the CEO and it's some like hipster liberal looking lady with those like hipster glasses, like she's Will.i.am at the Black Eyed Peas or something. And she's like, I just thought it would be really cool. Of course you did. Why do women who look like that, why are they everywhere? Are these the most talented genius minds of advertising? Maybe she earned her way there. Or is there some sort of sneakery going on where they just like weasel, like women know how to be like, Becky, you're my best friend. See you later. And then she turns around and she's like, Becky's disgusting and fat. We hate her. And men do this too. I'm not acting like women are profoundly horrible and men are awesome. But you talk to women and they're always like, yeah, all my friends are dudes because I don't like women. Women are cool, but they just have like a different vibe to them. They're not as good at basketball. They're not as good at chess. They're not as good at almost any physical activity, even a lot of mental ones on average. Doesn't mean they're not smart. I'm just saying that's just like statistically, scientifically true. Yet hipster liberals run every single company. And now, the New York Yankees Twitter needs a pride logo for like, but this is progress. Is this better? Yeah, this is better. This is better because they say it is. It's just like everything is being like invaded by like feminism. And women are good at like, it's harder to cancel a woman. A guy's easy to cancel because you just like lie about him or something. And I'm sorry. With a woman, it's like they weasel their way. They wear the hipster glasses. They ruin the company, but you can't get rid of them. They run HR. It's like women are just everywhere, like just doing everything. It's like, cool. Oh yeah, this is so much progress. It's awesome. Thank God you guys run every social media page. And it's not just women. I'm sure there's a lot of annoying men too, but I don't think we've made progress in this country, like as much as they would say. I think we've regressed. I think we've been regressing. I think all of the waves of feminism were a lie. They've all led to less childbirths and the replacement of Americans. They don't make, on average, the same way they don't like. It's a mental game, right? Chess is mental. It's not physical at all. Top 100 chess players are men. Why is that? I don't know, but it's true. But I'm supposed to believe that them being all the CEOs are just awesome. They're just so much better than men at it, I guess. Sure, but I don't know. Someone said Cracker Barrel's chicken fried steak looks like it was taken out of a bag. Yeah, it's not my favorite. Women in the workforce. I'm not going to read that one, but I don't know. It's hard to like talk about those things because then they're just going to say you like hate women or you're sexist. But obviously, like the country's just being overrun. I work for myself, right? I'm my own CEO, so I don't have to deal with this. Certain companies and certain people that I see, like there's some really obnoxious guys too. I'm not trying to get it twisted, but like sometimes I'll just see like women running the whole show and they're so bad at their job and they're so rude and they're so obnoxious. Like there have been really douchey guys for sure in business with me, but something about like certain women that I've seen in business where they have like no hubris or they have a lot of hubris. They have no humility. And it's like they do horrible, crazy things in customer service that I've never seen anyone do. And they just like look at you like that. Like I'm just like, I remember a hotel I stayed at, they double charged me my room, right? They double charged me by mistake. And I said, you double charged me. I was like, can you take one of the charges off? And the lady at the thing was like, no, sorry. But I could charge you again. So I was like, so you want to triple charge me for this hotel room? And she goes, well, yeah. And then like in 5 days, the 2 ones will come off, but not that one. I was like, I don't want to get triple charged. Just take one off. She goes, no, I have to run it again. I have to triple charge you. And then the other 2 will come off in a week or 2. I'm like, you're just not good at your job. Like, there's no way you have to charge my card 3 times in order to get one payment. That's not like, you've already overcharged it. I'm not like, what do I have to transfer funds just to stay here because you don't know how to work the computer? So like a lady calls me in my room, and I can't remember exactly the context, but like they were just being so nasty and so rude to me because of a mistake they made, where I'm like, yeah, I know that there's guys that suck in jobs and not all women do this customer service wise, but I've just noticed that with certain women in business. Like, I feel like they're just like, they know they could get away with it. They're not a dude. They'll cry sexism or something. They'll cry to like HR. They've already like snaked all the talented women and men out of the positions. You know, if you're actually a cool chick or a guy that's better than them, they'll find some way to like go behind your back and snake you. And it's like, none of these people belong in these positions, yet they're running like every company into the ground. And anybody who talks about it, they're like, you know what we need at this hotel? We're like, what? They're like, more pride flags. We need an event where we dress up dogs like transgenders. And you're like, are you sure? And they're like, oh, what are you, hateful? It's like, what about like maintenance? What about cleaning the rooms? So, oh, yeah, we'll do that too, I guess. It's like, I mean, I don't know. I've just noticed that a few companies where some of these women, I'm just like, there's no way you're the best at this job. But they like form these like alliances where they just take out everyone else at the business. It's like a game of Survivor, you know? They're like, who's actually good at this company? Let's oust them. Let's go behind their back and let's just run it ourselves into the ground and then just be rude to everybody. And then everybody will, I don't know. It's just my personal experience. Scammers working at hotels, huh? I wouldn't say scammers, just like they're just I mean, this is customer service everywhere, you know, but I've just noticed like maybe they're taught to do that. I don't want to blame the lower level worker. Like maybe they're taught to just say things in a row. Just certain experiences I've had have been just like astronomical to me that people do this and get away with it somehow. And like, just, I don't know. It's enough of that. Someone said shit floats to the top. I think there's just a different dynamic too, where like with, you know, men, I feel like men have like a more, and this is not women's fault. I just think like, you know, if there's like a men's basketball team and a women's basketball team, men and women are just different. They deal with each other different socially. There's different like social hierarchy dynamics and stuff. Men, it's more like testosterone. It's more like, you know, there's obviously really shady, sneaky guys all over this country. It's not like guys are perfect, but it would be like if you had a team of guys and you're training for the Olympics, right? And it's all dudes. And then you just bring in like 5 chicks. Not only are they probably not as good at playing, like, you know, they're just not physically as talented at the sport, but it brings a new dynamic together too, because man and a woman have attraction to some extent. Not like you're attracted to every woman you see, but it's like you bring like 7 hot chicks to a business that are really hot. You know, now the guys are like thinking a little differently. They're, you know, now they're like, oh, should I try to date this girl after work and this and that? I'm not saying it's people's fault, and I'm not, but like no one talks about this because for all of society, like it's been mostly men working, and then there's been cell phone or no cell phones. There's been just phones. Like there wasn't access to everything. It's like you lived in a town. Everybody knew someone. Like your parents knew that chick. They're like, you're going to marry her. You do it. You know, you're not out doing all these things. Nobody has the internet at their hands. If someone wants to talk to your wife, they got to call the house phone at some point. And, you know, like it's not now everyone has access to everything. But in the workforce specifically, I'm just saying like before, when it was mostly just men working, there was a different dynamic and structure to society. Some could say it's better. Some could say it's worse, but it's different. And psychologically, it's going to have an impact. Like if you worked with 50 guys at a factory and then you bring in 20 chicks, it's going to change a lot of social dynamic. But you're almost just not allowed to talk about it because people will say you're sexist or you're blaming somebody if you mention it. I'm not blaming anyone. It's just like now we have like 8th wave feminism. It was like women work the factories while your husband are dying for the bankers because we need to go fight a war that's going to destroy our nation or whatever. But we're going to tell you it's for your best interest. You work the factories because we need our economy to stay afloat while the men die for the bankers in order to destroy the country for their, you know, the future population. And then it's like, okay. And then like, it's like, now you're going to do this. Now you're going to do that. Now you can do anything. Now you're just as good at sports. Now we're going to pay you half, even though you're not earning half. And now the WNBA needs to basically like be on a loan. It's like, and now it's like eighth wave feminism where it's like hipster liberals run every single country and they're pushing trans flags and nobody's allowed to talk about it. So I know it happened really fast, but just the dynamic of like, you know, adding women to the workforce, women taking over the workforce. There's like it's the same thing with divorces. You know, back in the day, you weren't supposed to divorce, and then divorce lawyers like made it so divorcing was easier. It used to be harder. I'm not asking someone to be stuck in a marriage they don't want to be in, but it's like divorce got so easy, and then divorcees got to take half of their husband's money. It adds a new social dynamic. It's the same as welfare. We're going to pay you to not work and have a bunch of kids out of wedlock. Then people started doing it more. So without hating or blaming anybody, it's worth some sort of conversation and some sort of thought where we're just taught everything was amazing. Every war we fought was the best. Everything was amazing. Everything we did was good. Every wave of feminism was great. Liberalism was great. We're a democracy. We're the best. Everybody, like, it's like, it's not true though. Like we didn't make all the right decisions. We didn't do all the right things, and all of our mistakes and the lack of being able to talk about them has led to the country that everybody realizes is not really as great as they're saying because of these things. Like customer service has been completely destroyed. They're exporting it to foreign countries. Nobody gives a shit about you. Everybody's scamming you on every level. The entire country is a scam. Car insurance is a scam. Health insurance is a scam. Every insurance is a scam. And now when you actually go to do business, nobody cares because they just want the insurance money. And if you can't do that, if you're trying to pay out of pocket, they just make up prices. Or like the whole country is just based off a system that isn't made to actually help people. It's just made to take our money. So this is not, someone said, if women suck so much, just get a husband. I'm not saying women suck. I'm just saying, like, let me say this to you, Gianna, because this is not what I'm saying. By telling women to do all this stuff too, it's made so many women want to be career women, which is fine. I don't care what you want to do. I don't live the model life to tell everybody do this. I had 7 children, whatever. I'm not perfect. But now that women are chasing these CEO career jobs and they want to be women, and now they're not having kids. Now they're like 40 and they're like, wait, I want to have kids now. And they're like, oh, I wish I would have thought this way when I was 25 or 30, but you didn't because society told you that that's what you wanted to do. So it's like, women don't suck, but they just aren't as good at basketball. Some women are great at chess, but on average, they're worse at chess. They're also worse at like driving race cars. Like there's just a lot of things on average that women are worse at, but that's not God telling you suck. That's God like I'm not a golfer. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't make me a bad person, but we're not all meant to do the same things. If there is no gender roles, why don't men just be women and women be men? It doesn't matter. It does matter. The point I'm trying to make is it's not like that's your only purpose, but in general, I believe that feminism has destroyed the country, not because women are bad, just because it's telling women to do things that they're not on average as good at. And then they get emotional, guys get weird, and like the whole country's just at an imbalance. I'm not trying to blame women. I'm just saying like, I don't like when I see a woman with hipster glasses running a company, I'm not thinking to myself, oh man, she probably totally is the best person for the job. I know that none of these people are the best people for the job because look at the country. Like no, every social media for every sports team is like pushing gay propaganda. How did that happen? Who are these people? Like who's running the company? Who's running their social media? And here's just an idea. It's like, unless the woman can do the thing that she understands that mostly men want to watch. Like mostly men watch football. Some women do, but also it's mostly men. So it's like if you run a beauty company and you have a guy handling the social media that doesn't understand beauty and 95% of the women, like that's a good job for a woman. But like running a social media company when you're like a leftist gay activist running it for the New York Yankees, like it's just not the right spot, you know? So there's no hate. I just think that we have to talk about everything that happened to our country to understand why it's failing. This is not blaming women, but people will be like, oh, first and second wave feminism was fine, but fourth wave feminism is bad. You know, it was good to let this happen, but this wasn't happen. Here's just an interesting situation, but like, what if we were lied to a long time ago? And what if like the first wave of feminism wasn't what you thought it was? What if the pastors were right about what happens if you promote degeneracy constantly? This is not blaming a person or a gender. I just think everyone is lying. And like the best Republicans can give you is like, oh, the left went a little bit too far. I'm like, I think everyone went a bit too far, but it's not to blame anybody. Stan said with a $50 super chat, thank you, Stan. He said, Anomaly, sorry if you covered it, but can we get your take on Nick Fuentes versus Candace Tucker and everyone feud? I know you're friendly with Candace, but her marriage is kind of sus. And why does she always cover for the Tates? Let us know. Thanks. Thank you for the super chat. I did cover it, but I'll cover it a little bit because of the generous super chat. So as far, her marriage is kind of sus, someone said. I mean, I'm not going to say anyone's marriage is sus. That's between them. But I think they got married pretty quickly. I mean, I don't know the full story. I think they met each other and got married very, very fast. And her husband is like, you know, pretty connected in England. So if people want to think it's sketchy, it's on you. I don't feel like it's a good idea to weigh in on that. I don't think it's respectful, but you know, if I interview Candace, I could ask her about it and ask a journalistic question. On that note, you know, I've talked about it, but here's my final thoughts. And it's moving. Tucker, Candace, Nick, they're all powerhouses in the media. Nick was banned really early, became almost like the Joker. Everybody tried to oust him. He leaned into being really edgy and really extreme in order to get a lot of attention. And now he's becoming mainstream again. And, you know, a lot of people tried to blacklist him, like Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk. And I don't think he ever should have been that blacklisted. And me personally, I've said this for years. I think Charlie Kirk and Ben Shapiro would get embarrassed in a debate with Fuentes. Like they're frightened of the kid. And I just think this is not a cosign for everything Nick has ever said or done, because we're very different people. And I disagree with a lot of things that he said on some categories and just different personal things. But when it comes to like a debate on the topic, Charlie's not being honest about that topic. Ben's not being honest about that topic. They can't out honest Nick on that topic. And they're like, I've always said that he would beat them in a debate, and they won't do it. Not because he's so crazy and insane. It's because they're lying about a topic that he's being more honest about. When it comes to Tucker and Candace, like why they want to fight with Nick, or did Nick start it, or did they start it? I don't know. Nick takes a lot of hardline stances against Tucker, JD Vance. He said things about Candace. I don't know who started it, and I don't know who kind of rubbed the other one the wrong way first. As much as I've given my opinion, I think that would add more context. Like if Nick was just railing on Tucker 20 times and Tucker never said anything about him, and then Tucker said something, it would be different than if like Tucker was talking shit about him and then he talked. I don't know who started it. So it makes that context a little hard for me. With all that being said, as like I like Tucker, I like Candace. Nick is an interesting guy and he says some funny stuff, but nothing he said makes me not like Tucker. Nothing he said makes me not like Candace. But also on the flip side, if I had to give my unsolicited take of like who's winning and losing out of all this, I don't think any of them are losing because they all have massive audiences. Like Tucker and Candace are going to be fine. Nick's going to be fine. But if I had to pick a winner, I just feel like it's Nick for some reason, because I don't know. I feel like he has been banned for a long time, and the way people want to communicate with him, just like I don't, and maybe it's justified, but it feels like when Candace interviewed him, she wasn't talking to him in the same way she talks to other people, and she doesn't have to, but clearly she was trying to like, give him a way tougher interview than she's given other people. So it came across a little whatever. Tucker called him like a gay kid in his basement, but okay, Tucker can say that, but I don't know. Like if Tucker and Nick sat down, I bet they'd agree on a lot. So it's not like Nick's innocent because he constantly bashes other people too. So, it is what it is, but I feel like the more Tucker and Candace talk about it, the more it helps Nick. Nick is the one that's been banished from mainstream society. Any attention to him is going to help him. And I've always thought this about him. Like, I'm not like a super fan where I listen all the time, but like people, like everybody wants to distance themselves from him because he's like a radioactive person, right? And some of it's justified, but I don't know. I just feel like the energy that Candace and Tucker have for him versus the energy he has. Like, I just feel like if I had to pick a winner of it, even though they're all going to be fine, I feel like Nick is just doing better. He's representing himself better. And the angles Tucker and Candace are taking, I don't think they're as great as they think they are. But, that's for them. Like, time will tell all. And it's early in there's still a long time. So that could change. But I like Candace. I like Tucker. I just think that they're not like me being someone that likes Tucker and Candace, probably more than Nick. They're not wowing me. Tucker and Candace's angles are not wowing me. And the more I hear Nick talk, he's an interesting guy. And I just feel like the more attention they give him, like he's doing well with it. He's doing well with it. And he's coming across as like not that emotional on it. But I don't know. Nick also picks a lot of battles that I don't understand. And like, he just likes to harp on things that I don't think is necessary. So it's not my problem, not my issue. That's my unsolicited opinion. I like them all, but I don't think Tucker and Candace are like getting Nick as good as they think they're getting him. I think he's getting like the slightly better end out of it, yet they'll all do fine. None of them are going to suffer. Most of their audiences don't care about each other. They're not going to abandon Candace or Tucker because of what they said about Nick, vice versa. But I think the more they lean into Nick with the angle they're taking, the more problems it's causing them on Twitter. And they're not really gaining anything out of it. That's just my opinion. But who knows? Time will tell all. I'm not big into like beefs over nothing. It doesn't make sense to me. With that being said, like, why does Candace like the Tates? I mean, the Tates are a whole different category. Tate is like Trump. People either like love him or hate him. And some people like hate Trump, hate Tate. Like, dude, the people that hate Tate on my feed, they're like, anybody that likes Tate is a bad person. And it's like, I don't know. People freak out about him. Like, I don't hate Tate. I'm not obsessed with Tate. There's a lot of things he says that I agree with that I think are funny. There's a lot of things he says that I disagree with, but I don't understand like the rabid Trump or Tate hate. Like, I don't know. I get it, but like, that's a whole nother category where I don't understand why people get so wrapped up around it. And it's like, the more you hate Tate, the more he likes it. He like fuels off of it. So like, why I don't know. Like, I guess what I could say is Candace probably could have asked him more journalistic questions, but she's a podcast host. She gets to act however she wants. If she likes Tate, she likes Tate. She doesn't like Nick. She doesn't like, it's like, that's her choice. And I'm sure you could pull up some of my interviews where you could say, oh, I wish Anomaly would have asked tougher questions or something, but I don't know. I'm not like a big Tate hater, but I'm also not a super fan. So it's like, I don't even like to talk about Tate because people freak out. Like, why don't you hate him more? I don't know. I don't. Why don't you? It's like, he's just a guy that likes attention and controversy, that says a lot of real stuff, but also says some degen stuff. But also there's like an element of truth. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's wild what he said, but I get it. But he's kind of right. But also not. I don't know. Dolores with the $50 super chat. She said, I always look forward to your podcast. Your point of view is so different from others who discuss politics. Thank you, Dolores. I appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know. I really appreciate that super chat. Sometimes when I'm flowing, I feel like it's really insightful and interesting, but I'm talking to myself in a camera, so I never know if it's translating. Thank you for letting me know that it is. Someone said, I don't like Tate. If Tate had a kids, they would be tater tots. Someone said, they're friends with Ye, and what does Ye call himself? Yeah, I don't know. People are allowed to fight with each other online. I just don't. It's good for views and stuff, and sometimes there's a point to it, but I like Tucker, I like Candace, but they all do stuff that I don't do. Like Tucker will say something that I don't agree with. Candace will do something that I wouldn't do. Nick says and does a lot of things I wouldn't say or do. So I guess, I don't know. Like, I don't see myself in it. Like, I don't see any of them as me. And I guess because I do this, I'm not expecting everyone to do what I do, or else I wouldn't even do it. With that being said, there is some people I dislike for reasons, and I could explain. Like, I dislike Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro more because I feel like their brand of conservatism, calling everything anti-Semitic, saying it's anti-Semitism to say that people have dual loyalty while they obviously have dual loyalty. Like when Tucker does something I like, they hate it. It's like we're just, you know, some people you connect with more, some people you don't. And that's just like, it is what it is. Like there's becoming like two groups of conservatives at this point. The Mark Levins, the Ben Shapiros, the Lindsey Grahams, you know, and I'm sure all of them don't like everything that they all do, but even like on our side, I don't agree with everything that everyone's saying. So I don't know what more I could really say about it, but someone said Tate was a pimp and many do not like that. Understandable. I completely get why people wouldn't like that. I don't think that's a good lifestyle. You know, I don't like, that's how he made his money. I don't think it's the most moral way to do it. And I understand why people wouldn't like Andrew Tate. I just don't think people need to dictate and police like, oh, how could you think he's funny? He is funny. How could you like that? It was a good video. It doesn't mean I co-sign his entire lifestyle, but he's a funny, charismatic, interesting guy. He's definitely somebody who pushes the boundaries of like society, you know, like to make you want to like watch. Is he going to get arrested? Is he not? Is he going to have to flee the country? Like there's something interesting there. And I get why people wouldn't like him. I'm not gatekeeping. Like everyone has to like him. It's on you. Someone said, we have Luck of the Irish. Go check out the new Anomaly song that dropped today. I would play it, but they'd copyright strike my whole video because apparently I don't own my own song, even though I do. But YouTube gets confused sometimes by like, oh, you know, that song's owned by Anomaly. I'm like, I am Anomaly. And they're like, yeah, we're going to have to check on that. So it's all good. Smart people don't want those jobs. Sure. Someone said he objectifies women. He's creating more feminists. You could say that. I mean, here's the thing, though. There's a lot of women in this world. Some women like liberal men. Some women like Republican men. Some Republican women like Republican men who are chill. Some like guys like Andrew Tate. You know what I'm saying? They want a guy that's like, you know, a little bit mean and bold. So I don't know. I feel like, I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but I feel like if you're a woman and that's not your type, then you have to find your type. If you're a man and you don't like men like that, you can't spend time like, oh, I don't like Andrew Tate. A lot of women do, you know, like women like a lot of different type of guys. Like you could be a great guy and a 10 out of 10 women doesn't want you because you're like too nice and they'll go with that douchey guy with a yacht, you know, like he talks about that a lot. And like, it is true. I'm not saying every woman wants that because it's not true, but like as a man, I lived in Los Angeles. I lived in Southern California. You know, when all these women were like, oh, you know, all these Hollywood men are doing this, I was thinking to myself, because I was in my 20s, I was broke. I did well for myself, but at the same time, it's like I'm living in Los Angeles and I have no car. It's not like I'm the most, like I wasn't the most appealing guy to any chick, nor should I be. Like I didn't really have my stuff together. I was a aspiring hip hop artist. But like women like power, women like money. Like the hottest chicks would go to the rich guy's house. Like they'd go on the yacht, they'd fly to other countries. That's what a lot of these chicks are doing, you know? And like in my 20s, when I would see all these guys, like women, like the feminists and stuff, I'm like, where are all these chicks that don't like that stuff? Because I don't have any of this stuff. I was like, I don't have a car. I don't have a yacht. I live in a shitty apartment. Where are all these 10 out of 10 women who just really want an aspiring hip hop artist who lives in a shithole, one like no bedroom apartment? Because all I see is all the hot chicks going for the guys that have like the Hollywood Hills houses, you know? So it's like, it's not to say that's the greatest wife. And, you know, Tate, I think, has different baby mamas, you know? So it's like that type of lifestyle leads to those results. But, you know, he's not really wrong about some of the stuff he's saying. That's why I don't mind Tate. Because like, as a man, you have to realize that some women do go for that. Some women like douchebags. Some women like money. Some women like, like they want to be on a yacht in, and on Lake Como, not listening to you talk about feminism on YouTube. Like, oh, Andrew Tate is so mean. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to go to the yacht in Lake Como, but you tell me more about that, how he's mean or whatever, but I'm going to go on his boat. Those women do exist, but God made billions of men and women. So the thing is, like, it's not like I would be like, all women are like that. Some are. I don't know. Is it more women in the comment section? You let me know. Do more women, like, I'm only reading the chick comments from women names. In your experience, even if you're one of the good ones, I'm sure you're going to say you are, and maybe you are, but do more women like wealth and power, or is that in the minority? Is it a majority of women? A majority of women prioritize wealth and power over other stuff, or is that a minority? Let me know, because I'm not a woman. I don't know what you guys talk about or want, but in my experience, I've seen it, I've seen it from both sides, and there's different types of women, let's see. We'll wait a few seconds. And on one hand, I understand. It's like a woman wants to be protected and comfort, and it's comforting knowing there's a lot of money there, I would think. They don't want to be left with nothing or something. But let's see. That's the minority. Someone said you got to be hot in order to get it. I don't know if you're a chick or not. Someone said yes and no. Man sitting happily thinking about the Roman Empire, and a woman has to start a fight because she's bored, someone said. I don't know what that means, but okay. Let's see. They need that digital dopamine, someone said. Half and half. Most want security, said Laura. I'm trying to get the women's comments, but it's not an attribute of ladies in Eastern Texas, somebody said. A woman wants respect and understanding, said Wen. I don't know if you're a man or a woman. I can't tell. Feminism has really messed up and what men should be. I don't get that. I think it's tough for men and women nowadays because, like, this is what I'll say too. I went on my little, like, women in the workforce rant, but we're all, like, overstimulated. So it's hard to be able to commit to somebody, and it's hard to be able to make sacrifices because, like, back in the day, it's like, yeah, we got to make the sacrifice. But now it's hard letting someone into your life. You have so much technology. Like, everybody's, most women are working and have their own life. And then a guy has his life and he's doing this. So it's like, people are probably really picky nowadays because they're just, like, overstimulated with, like, too many options. Or even if you don't have a lot of options, the option of comfort and just not having to sacrifice. Anytime you're, with someone else, you have to gain and lose. You gain some things, you have to lose some comfort, some level of what you used to do has to change a little bit. And I feel like it's just hard to want to commit to all that. Like, like, because there's, like, you're like, is this the right one? Like, it's affecting men and women. Like, I feel like everybody's like, this is my routine. Do I really want to change this all? Is this the person I want to let into my life? Technology, cell phones has made everything a little more difficult. I think it's just, there's too many tabs open. There's too much going on. It's like, it's not as simple as it used to be for both genders, I think. Someone said, I think girls now want their own money. There's a little bit of that. You have girls that want their own jobs, their own money. You have other chicks that like guys that, I mean, I get all sides of it. Like, if you're a woman and you're an attractive woman, like, you want to see what you could get. Like, I just don't like, I feel like some women they'll take the money and power, and, like, I don't even know if they like the guy. Like, I'm not trying to be rude right now, but, like, Bill Belichick and his wife, like, he's like 70s, she's like 20. Like, do you think she really likes him? Maybe. I mean, it's possible. I mean, I would like to think that there's love there, but it's like, or just, I'm not saying that's the norm and everybody does that, but is it possible for, like, a 20-year-old hot chick to, like, really love a really rich 7-year-old guy? I don't know. Probably not. But who am I? Who am I to judge? Watch The Real Housewives of Miami? Yeah, I'll pass. I'm sure I wouldn't, like. Someone said incel mindset is killing your channel, dude. Well, I don't have incel mindset. And if people in the comments do, I mean, that's on them. I don't like if you're reading comments that are bothering you and it's making you not like my channel. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but I could try to grow my channel and get better comments. I don't know. It's not ruining it for me, but someone said, I don't want, let's read this one. Grace said, I don't want money from a man unless we have a family together. Then I need help. Obviously, kids with a parent. Yeah, no, for sure. That's what I was going to say too. I get why it's not all like gold digging. Like some people are gold diggers, but at the end of the day, like I don't believe a woman should have to work with kids. I don't think it's good. They might have to because this economy sucks, but as far as it's better to raise your own kids and have someone else raise them, I believe in that. So I get why women would want a guy with money, you know, in order to, because if your guy doesn't have money and then you have to go work while raising kids, then you got to go get the money, which sucks. So I get why a woman would want a guy with money. It makes sense to me. And that's another thing too. I don't want to harp on it too much, but Trump's like, this is the golden age. This is the best 6 months. Listen, it's not the worst 6 months I've ever seen. Trump has definitely achieved some accomplishments that he should be proud of. But this, like the gaslighting of like him wearing this hat, saying he's right about everything, saying it's the greatest 6 months ever. Inflation is not gone. It's never going away. This country's been effed for like 70 years straight. The like $200,000 a year is now middle class. It's not even upper class anymore because everything's so expensive. And, you know, the average family, if you're not loaded, the woman has to work. Everybody's scraping by, you know, now someone else has to raise their kids. Like this isn't the golden age of America. There has to be a middle ground. And I feel like I'm one of the only ones saying it because everybody else, their head is either so far up Trump's ass or they hate him, where it's like either people hate Trump or they think this is the golden. It's not the golden age. And I don't hate Trump. It's just like he's lying. And like he's brainwashing Republicans into thinking that like the country is doing, it's cool. It's not, but like it'll be better when the average person can afford things and be able to raise their own children. And on top of feminism and, you know, blaming women in the workforce and stuff, jokes aside, but it's also like the financial, you know, when it's easy to have a wife and kids in a house, it's easier to do it, but not to say as an excuse, because you could still do it. But most people don't feel financially stable enough to have children. And there's people in my life that I know that they have kids and, you know, they're in debt. They need to run up their credit card. So it's like, unless you're making like a huge salary or your husband's making a huge salary, this country is not in the golden age. This country is being drowned with debt and insurance scams. Everything's a scam. Like, you know, recently something went wrong with my car and it's a brand new car. I don't want to explain it, but somebody hit me and ran, and it's a whole debacle. It's like, just trying to get it fixed has become like a full-time job because everybody's lying. Everybody's scamming me. Everybody just wants like weird insurance stuff. Same with the health industry. It's like, it's all like this. When you go places, it doesn't feel like if I go to a restaurant, customer service is good, right? They sit me down. They want my money. They don't hate me. I'm paying them. And the transaction is like, I'll pay you. I'll be friendly. You be friendly to me. You give me food and I leave. Nothing else works that way. Restaurants are nice, but like any type of service anywhere, it's like everybody hates you. Everybody's stressed out. Nobody wants you to be there. There's no humanity in it. Everybody just wants your insurance card so they can get as much money as possible. And they'll look right through you if you're not going to hook them up with some sort of deal. It's not the golden age. The golden age is when your community feels right. People can afford a house. Women don't have to work. They can raise their kids. Like that's the golden age. It's worth trying to get to. But this is what is just crazy to me. And it's what inspired me to go live today because I feel like no one's doing it. People think I'm being hateful or I'm Trump deranged or something. And it's just like, is he that masterful of a brainwasher that he can brainwash a right winger into thinking that the country is saved and fixed? He's definitely doing a lot of things that I don't know what's going to happen to the federalization of the cities because it's a little scary. But, if he can stop crime in the cities, that's a good accomplishment. If he's actually deporting people and closing the border, that's an accomplishment that his voters voted for. If he can stop the war in Ukraine and Russia, that's an accomplishment. Like he is accomplishing some things. I'm not acting like it's the worst 6 months of my life, but it's definitely not like the gaslighting of saying like there's no inflation, it's restored, this and that. and people being like, yeah, because I like Trump, it's true. To me, it's the same as people were treating during the lockdown and the pandemic, when people were suffering, their kids were being masked, they were losing their businesses, and a bunch of the Q-tards were like, he's saving the country from Chrissy Teigen. And I'm like, it inspires me to speak up for people that don't have a voice, because it's like, listen, if you like Trump, I get it. If you want to root for him, I understand. If you're doing well, that's cool. But to act like the country's back on track is an insult. Just like during the lockdown, you're insulting every person that's stuck at home, every person that's forced masked, every person that's going to face a vaccine mandate, every person, including ourselves, that is a victim of this socialism because Trump gave everybody a Trump check. That's literally borderline communism. And now inflation's screwed for 20 years because of Trump and Biden, and neither of them take credit. It annoys me when people don't see that and they're just like, yeah, this is perfect. Same with now. Yeah, be positive, be inspirational. But if this is the golden age of America, I don't know. I'm not impressed. I feel like there were probably 50 to 100 years that were better than this in American history, where people could afford more, where social cohesion was better, where crime was down, where the average business was working for you, not against you. And this is another thing I think that I'm inspired to say, because nobody really says it. With Trump, if you don't worship him, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, he does seem like the best president of our lifetime because he's so interesting and he does these like cool things that nobody else would do. But on another hand, like he is one of those guys where business trumps morality. He's not like the most moral person in the world. Like with Intel, he brings them back to America, and then the government now owns 10% of Intel. That's communism or fascism, but I'm not going to cry fascism like, oh my gosh, Trump's hurting me. It's not capitalism. Let's just put it that way. Trump is merging Intel with the government. All these free market capitalists, are they going to cry about that? Probably not, because Trump did it. He did this during the pandemic too. He forced Honeywells to make ventilators that were horrible, and then he bragged about making ventilators. But he basically forced Honeywell to do it for a price he wanted them to do. He was a communist dictator. He was shutting down the country, forcing Honeywell to make ventilators at a price they didn't want to make them at, and then he bragged about it on his Twitter account, and everybody thinks he's like a saint. But with like, Trump's not going to fix the healthcare industry. I don't even think he can or knows how, and it's not his fault. But like, if we're just going to scream golden age, healthcare is probably shittier than it's ever been in this country. Insurance on every level is the biggest scam ever. Usury loans are probably not going down. The average kid is in like student debt and these crazy usury loans. The average person can't afford a household. $200,000, which used to be like literally like you're rich. You're like, dude, not only do I make six figures, I make six figures times two. It's $200,000, not $100,000. $200,000 is nothing now. Like $200,000 is enough to like not buy a house, but live in like an area that's not completely ghetto, sort of. But then you're going to be broke, and everything's like, God forbid something goes wrong in your life, like a car issue or a health issue. Now you're going to be paying it a lot. But if you have health insurance is $6,000 a month, whatever, like a year. I mean, I don't know. Everything's just such a scam. But in order to fix that, you have to admit it's happening. Trump is one of these guys. He just does business. I'll do business with Larry Ellison. I'll do business with Intel. I'll do business with Apple. It's not like that's going to fix all our problems. And I'm not asking him to fix all of our problems, but at least don't act like you're fixing everything, and don't act like you're better than George Washington, and don't act like it's the golden age of America. We could say the golden age is coming because we're working towards it, but this is not the golden age. Unless, mentally, if we want to act like it is and manifest it, and, my day-to-day life, I don't sit and cry about all the things. Like, I'm having issues with my car. It's been annoying, but I've had a good week, and it's like, it's out of my control. I'm not letting it bother me that much, and I've had a great week. With that being said, I'm not gonna sit and mope around about it and let it ruin my life. But I'm also not gonna say the country. Like, when I talk to my friends, I'm like, man, every business is great. Insurance isn't a scam. The average person's getting a house. Women can raise their kids. A normal job can pay for a picket fence, and there's no crime. Like, the exact opposite is my experience. And me personally, I go to the places, I look for the places that aren't run by Democrats, that aren't filled with crime. And everywhere I've ever been, even including in nice parts of the country that aren't California, like everyone thinks I've only been to California or whatever, it's like the bad parts of the liberal cities are leaking in to the conservative parts. And even in the conservative parts and the Republican parts, these people, they not only are they in over their head, but it's like they're also just going along with the motion. It's like, we're Republicans, but we're not really doing that much. Like, for instance, like when any issues happen with me, whether it's been in a Republican county in this state or that state, and I've actually had some sort of issue that's like leaking in from either the liberal cities or it's just the result of the demographics changing and the country getting shittier, nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to help. Not like it's just like everyone's like, whatever. Like, I don't want to live in a whatever community. Like, you know, that's where I don't envy everything about other places. But like in Dubai, I've heard stories where like Bryce Mitchell said one of his training partners or his coach left his passport in a taxi. And Bryce Mitchell was saying I'm trying to think where Bryce Mitchell's from. I think he's from Arkansas. And he goes, in Arkansas, you do that, it's gone. Like, you just lost your passport. You're never getting it back. You can't even. In Dubai, the taxi service drove it to him and spent like an hour bringing it back to him for free. There's almost no crime in Dubai. They don't allow theft. If someone steals a watch in Dubai, they'll find them, they'll track them down, and they'll get it back for you. In America, even if you're in the most Republican part of America, nobody gives a shit. They're just like, whatever. No, who cares? You lost your passport? Sorry, there's nothing we can do. Sorry, the cameras don't work. Sorry, we can't do anything about it. You know, we got other stuff. Like, nobody gives a shit in this country. It's not the golden age. There's no cohesion. There's no social cohesion. There's no, like, the law enforcement is doing bare minimal. And even in the Republican areas, it's not as good as it was 20 years ago. So I just don't like the gaslighting from Trump, and I feel like it's just weird. Like, the whole country is weird because you got the left versus right. Everyone's fighting, and there's no logical people like able to see through both sides and just make a statement. I do well for myself. I don't have kids and a wife and all this stuff to do. I've saved a decent amount of money. You know, I've been somewhat smart with my money. Probably could have been smarter, but you know, overall, I'm not mad at myself, but I could have done a little better. But even like, let's just say I want to buy a house, right? I don't own a house yet. The prices are nuts. Like, you could buy a house in a place you don't really want to live, but if you want to buy a house in a place you want to live, the prices are insane. So it's like, in order to be like upper class, you need to make millions like a year, or at least like high six figures, you know? Normal six figures is not that great anymore. And it's like, you're just going to get a crazy mortgage on a house, or you could live in a house either you could live in a small house in a neighborhood you want to be in, or you could live in a big house in a neighborhood you don't want to be in. It's like, dude, everything is crazy expensive in this country, unless you're going somewhere you don't want to be, you know? Like, I'm sure I could find a house for $200,000, $300,000, but it's not going to be anywhere I want to be. Someone said, get a rural home. There's definitely always a play to be made, you know? Like, you could do a lot of things with money. You could live rural, you can go overseas. Like, there's plays to be made, but it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to live rural right now, like extremely rural, but I don't know. Someone said, motorcycle cops handing out tickets for seatbelts. It's a safety. Bro, I got a ticket last year from a cross-dresser. Like, I wouldn't even say a transgender because it was literally just a cross-dresser. Like, there wasn't that much effort being put into it. But anyway, I got pulled over in Missouri by a cross-dresser. I was not even going that fast. They gave me a ticket. It raised my freaking motor insurance, so I got cheaper insurance. Then I got hit by somebody. They ran away, and now I'm stuck with the price. It was like a series of unfortunate events. It's like a cross-dresser gave me a ticket for no reason. I wasn't even doing anything. Now my insurance goes up hundreds of dollars a month. I don't want to pay for it. I find cheaper insurance. The cheaper insurance doesn't cover a hit and run. I get hit and run. Now I'm stuck with this massive bill, and I don't have like car insurance that actually pays for it. And I'm like, I'm not even mad at it because there's a lesson in there somewhere, but it's like, I guess don't drive so fast when there's like cross-dresser cops in Missouri or something. But it's like, it's become like a full-time job for me trying to figure this crap out, and nobody wants to fix it because they just want insurance money. And I'm like, they're trying to charge me so much for like nothing. And everybody's like got different quotes and different stuff. It's such a joke, dude. But I feel good. Like I feel good in my life, and like among that, I'm having a good week, so I'm not really tripping about it. But it's just like, I don't know. It's been weird. It's been weird. Let's see. A cross-dresser in Missouri. Yeah, the state trooper was a cross-dresser. Talked to me for 10 minutes, asked me where I was going, was super nice. I thought they were going to let me off, and then they gave me a speeding ticket. And the speeding ticket raised my insurance from like $80, $90 a month to $300 a month. So it's like, I'm a good driver, never gotten in an accident. I don't like cut people off. I literally drive very intelligently, very safely. It was like downhill Missouri. Nobody was there. I guess I was going fast, but like 90% of the time I wasn't even going that fast, nor was I wasn't like swerving in and out. I was literally just driving in a straight line. There's no reason to give me a ticket. They gave me a ticket. Then my insurance goes up to $300. Now, because this cross-dresser gave me a ticket, now I have to pay $220 extra a month for a year. That's $3,000 extra dollars a year. I didn't want to pay it, so I found insurance that worked around it because I was like, I don't get in accidents. I'm not a bad driver. I'm smart. I know things could happen, but I was like, I'll risk it to save $6,000 over the next 3 years. And then somebody hits me in a garage and doesn't fess up to it, and now I got to pay for it out of pocket. Is what it is, but it's like, did I really need a ticket there? That cross-dresser really needed to give me a ticket to ruin my life? That's okay. Didn't ruin my life, but you get it. It's just like, it was a California license plate because I was renting a car. I was driving to First Form to be on their podcast, and I was like, whatever. But, there's a lesson in there somewhere. I learned a very expensive lesson, and I'm pissed off about it, but there's nothing I can do. And, I feel healthy and things are going well in my life outside of that. So I'm just going to write it off as a very expensive lesson. But next time you will respect RuPaul's authority. I was being nice. It wasn't like I was being rude. They were like, where are you going? I was like, to a podcast. Oh, what kind of podcast, huh? I was like, a health and fitness podcast. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I literally talked to them for 5 minutes, and then they came back and still gave me a ticket. I was like, come on. But whatever. In hindsight, maybe I could have, I could have been like, I don't know. Maybe I used the wrong pronouns in there or something. Maybe I said, like, I didn't know what to say. So I said they. Maybe I should have said she. Made them feel good or something. I don't know. In hindsight, there's something else down there, but it's whatever, man. I don't know. It just annoys. Like anytime I've had to deal with insurance or anything like that, I'm like, I like blunt people, right? I like people that are just like telling me what they actually mean. But this whole like workaround, like it's just like, can anyone just like be normal? Just like tell me, even to get my car fixed. It's like, how much? Well, it's going to cost wait, no, it's going to cost $9,000, $4,000. Oh, we looked at the hood at $7,000. It's like, bro, I know you're lying to me, but whatever. I can't do anything about it. All right, let's go a little bit longer. Someone said, ma'am, I identify as not guilty. You must respect that. That's a good one. That probably would have got me arrested. I think the cross-dresser cop that I was like, they were like, I don't know. They probably could have said I was like going 1,000 miles an hour or something and arrested me. Not that I was, but if I would have brought in the pronouns to it, I really would have got in trouble. Someone said it'll be $1,500 for a $400 part in an hour of labor. Dude, my car barely got hit, and they're trying to say it takes 9 hours to paint. I'm like, are you dyslexic? Are you painting upside down or something with like a baby brush? Like what 9 hours to paint? Literally, my car's scuffed up like this much, and they're trying to say it takes 9 hours to paint. Dude, this country is a joke, man. You hear me, Donald Trump? Because I got arrested. Donald Trump, I'm speaking to you. Because I got arrested by a cross-dresser in Missouri. Not arrested. I got a freaking speeding ticket. I'm sorry. Because I got a speeding ticket by a cross-dresser in Missouri, and I had to switch my car insurance, and I got my car hit. It's your fault, Donald Trump. It's not the golden age. No, I'm just kidding. But, it's not his fault. But he's so rich, dude. He doesn't even drive. And if he drove, he could literally just like buy an entire car dealership. So like him saying it's a golden age because he's like whining and dining at Mar-a-Lago with like the richest people in the world. I like Trump, and I do think he's down to earth for a rich guy. But even during the pandemic, he was like loving the lockdown. He's like, I'll fly jets over your house. bro, I'm locked in my house and nobody's operating business. I don't give a shit about a jet show. Like, what do you think? I'm like a slave. I'm like, thank you, master, for the jets over my head. All right, back to work. Like, I don't want a jet show, bro. I want you to open the country up. Like people forget because he's so cool that he's been rich forever. And I'm not acting like I'm just like, yeah, no, I mean, I've been broke in my 20s. I've lived in Los Angeles. I didn't have a car. If I had a family that would give me money, they would have paid for an apartment. Like there's people in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, their daddy pays for their apartment. They have a car. My parents were like, yeah, you're on your own, buddy, you know, which I'm glad for because that's normal. I'm not expecting for anything, but like I was broke from like 20 to like 30. I had no money. I had no car in a huge city for 8 years. I lived in shitty apartments. It gives you some sort of character and context to them. When you get something, you're like, oh man, I really appreciate this because I didn't realize how hard it was to get out of this situation. Trump's been rich his whole life. He was born rich. He's, you know, yeah, he's a good businessman. I'm not saying he's not. He's definitely smart and he earned stuff, but he's been rich forever. Like he doesn't understand the things that people are. It's a golden age to him because he's surrounded by people who kiss his ass. Anybody who doesn't kiss his ass, he'll get rid of. And then he's like, dude, think about what an elitist he is. He thinks that he's better than George Washington. He said it twice. He said, people say that this is the best presidency ever. People are saying this, like he's surrounded. Sir, you're better than George Washington. Thank you. Let's do business together. Like he doesn't understand that the average person can't afford anything. He doesn't understand that everything's a scam. Do you think Donald Trump even knows what car and health insurance is? Like he has to worry about health insurance. Oh no. How much does Donald Trump pay for health insurance? Who knows? He has $1 billion though. If anything ever happened to him, he's got the best doctors, probably good insurance, but even if he didn't have insurance, it doesn't matter. Dude, and $100,000 hospital visit is like him flipping a quarter. So it's like when I take it personally, because like people who like him, they just love everything he says. It's like, dude, I'm not saying he's a bad person or he's the worst person in the world, but if you think he understands what's going on with car insurance and health insurance and all these like insurance scams in this country and the premiums and the fact that nobody does anything anymore and customer service, do you think Trump deals with customer service? Do you think he's on the line with somebody in India and the Philippines for 2 hours? Bro, Trump probably has servants doing everything for him for the last 60 years. When do you think you think Trump calls like a auto insurance place or health? Hey, excuse me. Okay, I'm Donald J. Trump. Blue Cross? Okay, Blue Cross. You got a Blue Shield too? That's cool. I have a Blue Shield too, but my Blue Shield is from a famous person in England. It's worth $2 million. My dad gave me a Blue Shield. What are your premium rate? Dude, he hasn't done anything for himself that act like normal people do since he was probably never. But if he ever did, maybe when he was like 17 or something. But, you know, it's not to say I hate him. It's just like him saying it's the golden age is because he doesn't do anything. He has servants doing everything for him for the last half century. It's the golden age because everyone surrounding him tells him he's amazing. And if they don't, he fires them. Like he's everywhere he goes, people kiss his ass. Literally, like probably for the last 50 years, but definitely for the last 8, 9, 10 years. You're the greatest, Trump. You're amazing. The country's saved. It's okay. You know, you definitely deserve some credit, bro. But is it saved? I don't know about all that. Does anyone like ask questions about this though? Like, do any journalists be like, it's always about like weird, like, you know, they never actually ask things that matter. It's always like the Democrats said this, or what do you think about Rudy Giuliani? You know, and he's like, and they're like, oh, is there, you know? And then it's like Charlie Brown's teacher. They're like, wah, 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 and he's like, listen, okay, Epstein is a hoax. He's a big hoax, a Democrat hoax, okay? I'm like, yeah. I don't even watch the press conferences because it's just like, if someone asks an actual question that matters, I'll find it in my Twitter feed. Like, you know, it'll just be in my algorithm. 90% of it is just like a framing of it. It's like this framing of it that doesn't actually resonate with like anybody, any normal person, but it's okay. Stop replacing the population, not hard. I don't think he like this is the problem with like being so rich. Like if I was as rich as Trump and I lived in like a golden building at the top in every suite, like, dude, think about dude, Trump is probably, I mean, his house is probably sick. I'm not mad at it, but it's like, do you think he's ever lived in a normal house, like ever? He owns buildings and he has the nicest room in the building. It's not, do you think he knows what it's like to like be making $200,000 a year or $100,000 a year, or your husband's making $80,000 a year? Now you have to get a job. And now, you know, like your whole health insurance, like he doesn't know any of it. Like none of this, he doesn't know any of it. And no one talks to him about it. And nobody in his orbit cares. Like they don't care, you know? He has no idea what people are going through. He just knows that he's so, like, he's wearing a hat that says, I'm right about everything. And millions of people that are struggling are like, yeah, you are right about everything. You're the best. You've never lied to me ever, patriot. And he's like, why would he change? You know, like he has he thinks he's literally right about everything. And people that are tricked by him think he's right about everything. It's fascinating. He's an interesting guy. I said this a bunch in my live streams, but I'm excited for the next guy that is a Republican that people don't like that much. This way they actually pay attention, you know? With Trump, he's like a religion. Nobody pays attention. Nobody cares. Everything's like fake and gay, but he does do some cool stuff and he's really funny. The next person that like does the same thing as Trump, but people don't actually like, will be interesting to me. Even DeSantis, like Trump and DeSantis, they're pretty much, Trump has the same foreign policy as DeSantis. DeSantis, everyone's like, he's sold out to the donors. So is Trump. He just seems like he's not because he's better at talking about it. But DeSantis is a big sellout. But if DeSantis won, does anybody like DeSantis that much? I don't think so. I mean, they like him, but not like, I'm not going to look at what he's doing. So in a weird way, I was trying to see like maybe if he won, will Trump supporters hold him to the fire? Especially when people got so pissed at Trump, or I'm sorry, at DeSantis. Like when Trump supporters were super pissed at him and they were like, he's working for donors. I was like, sweet, they're finally, like it took a little beef for people to pay attention. Before that, nobody paid attention to DeSantis. He was like a hero. Then he crosses Trump. Now people are interested in journalism. Now they're digging into his big donors and his policies and his anti-Semitism speech laws. Vivek used to talk about him and say, DeSantis is passing these bills that are anti-First Amendment. Trump also did that too, but for some reason Vivek would point out when DeSantis did it because it was politically advantageous to be like, DeSantis man bad, he's crossing Trump. People like me people, so I could run for governor. Politics is fascinating, but the more you pay attention and don't get mad at it, it could be interesting and funny. But all right, I gotta go. I've been here too long. Appreciate y'all. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for the super chats. I really appreciate the super chats. Obviously, I do appreciate you brokies as well that never pay me any money, and all you. No, I'm just kidding. But I don't care how much money you guys have. But like as much as I like the average person who watches the show, you know, you're normal. I'm just tuning in. When people give double $50 super chats, I mean, it really makes me feel good. It makes me want to go live more, but not saying that's the only reason, but I don't know what I'm even saying, but thank you for the two $50 super chats. That was awesome. I appreciate that. And yeah, we'll, like I said, I got the sign. I've realized my issue with like, you know, my live stream. Let me try to put it to 4K real quick, see if it freezes, but I need to switch streaming services because once I get it working 4K, I think I just changed it now. It's going to look like really high quality, really studio level. And I'm going to start to do some pretty sick interviews. So thank you guys for the patience. I was never quitting or giving up, but I didn't want to just keep doing the same thing. Not that great. I'd rather take a few months break and do it right. And I'm getting really close. So eventually I'm going to be doing bigger interviews, bigger shows, more high level stuff. I just want to like get it all right. And yeah, thank you guys for your patience. And real quick, check out the, thank you. I'm going to read the super chat real quick. Check out my new song, Luck of the Irish. It's on Instagram. I mean, I'm so tired. I'm just saying it is on Instagram, but it's on Spotify and Apple Music. And I'd really appreciate it. If you like it on Spotify, stream it, show your friends, play it in the car, add it to your playlist. I'd appreciate that. That's free. But Luck of the Irish, that's my new song. Thank you for another super chat. I'm going to put that on the screen. Italian Goddess. Been watching your podcast since 2020. Thank you for not being a coward and speaking the truth. You've opened a lot of eyes. God bless. Thank you, Italian Goddess. I appreciate that. And thank you so much. I'm really grateful. And yeah, I know in the future too, I'll say this. Sometimes people, they might super chat me at the beginning and I don't see it because I'm like the producer of my show doing 1,000 things. I'm going to try to figure out like a new streaming service. And hopefully on that streaming service, there's a way to like bank the super chats. Because I feel like too, a lot of people don't super chat on my show as much because other people, they read all their super chats. With me, sometimes I'm distracted. So it's like, why would you want to super chat if I'm not even going to read it? To some people, they don't want that. I'm going to figure it all out and make it like a show where it's like I do my show for 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Then all the super chats that anyone does is banked and I'll read them all at the end and I'll make sure I'll go through them all. That's kind of my goal. So I'm working on it. Things are good. And yeah, it's the golden age, folks. Everybody's rich. The entire country is perfect. And Trump's better than George Washington. It's true. I mean, dude, I woke up this morning and I slept on my back. And instead of having a nightmare, I had a dream, but it was real. And I woke up and there was just a bunch of Trump bucks on my shirt. I took the Trump bucks down to the local store and everybody was, customer service was great. It was all in the United States of America. Nobody was scamming me. And I just woke up rich, dude. I mean, it's that easy, bro. You just vote for Trump. You just wake up and you're just rich, dude. You just get Trump bucks on your stomach and stuff. It's pretty fire. So, it was a good day to say the least. No, really, I woke up. I went to try to get my car fixed and they were like, we don't fix cars, go here. And I went there and they quoted me like $5,000. And I was like, no, there's no way this could cost $5,000. I look at it, it says it's going to take 7 hours, 9 hours to paint. There's no way. But what are you going to, they don't care. They're like, we're busy. Everybody, it's one of those businesses that like there's always business, so they don't even care about you, but I'll figure it out. I'll be back soon. Thanks for listening. Check out my song, Luck of the Irish, folks. It's a banger. I'm just going to sell it real quick. This is a commercial. So I heard the beat. It's an Irish banger beat. I had to create an Irish song around the beat. It only made sense. Oh, I'm freezing. Hold on 1 second. It's a banger, not just for the Irish people in Ireland, the nation, but for the whole world to embrace their culture and let them know we're with them. You don't have to turn into a clergy planned globalist country. You don't have to fall apart like all the other nations. You don't have to hate yourself. You're allowed to love yourself, the color of your skin, your heritage, your ethnicity, and even outsiders like myself want you to just be yourself. You guys don't have to be pathetic and liberal and bow down. Keep your heritage, keep your culture, and the rest of the world celebrating with you. Imagine St. Patty's Day and we just celebrate like tacos or something. It's like, I like tacos, I like Cinco de Mayo, but St. Patty's Day is about the Irish, Once your nation gets replaced, it's like it's not even a nation anymore. Then your entire heritage is kind of like stepped over. So it's a good song. It's a party song, but there's also, there's a deep message. An anomaly song, it's never going to have basic lyrics. There's some subtle messages in there for people to party, but at the same time, not be degenerates. So I'm really pumped about the song. Check it out, Luck of the Irish. Thank you to everybody streaming it on Apple Music and Spotify. And thank you extra for adding it to your playlist. I appreciate that. It helps with the algorithm on Spotify. All right, I'm out. Have a good day. Luck of the Irish out now. Stream it.